Good morning, friends, and welcome to a wonderful Sunday, 1st May. We should remember in our life there is only one asset in the whole world which God has created, which is a prefix called real. Good morning, friends. Now, this prefix and welcome to diamond. It is not before platinum. It is not before any other asset. We accountant know that there is something called depreciation. And on every asset, whether tangible or intangible, we provide depreciation. On the useful life, after the Ind AS has come, there's a more scientific approach that depreciation is provided over the useful life. Method can be different, straight line method, written down value method, machine hours method in machines. There is only one asset in the world which is not depreciated, and that is real estate. And Rera, the 1st May 2016, Rera made us aware that there is something called real estate. Please focus. And chartered accountant, along with 3 other professionals, company secretary, cost accountant, and legal professionals, were made eligible to appear before authority. There is a regulator. We must understand how the law operates. The central law is made by Parliament. In the Constitution, we have 12 schedules. So, 7th schedule, we have 3 lists. List 1, list 2, list 3. List 1 is where Parliament has a law authority. List 2 is where state government has power. And list 3 is a concurrent list. So, real estate belongs to the states. We have 28 states and 8 union territories. So, real estate law for 8 union territories are made by the government, central government, because they are managed, they are the owner, they are governed by central government, union territories. So, we have like Puducherry. Delhi is also union territory. There is a legislative assembly, but it is a union territory. Puducherry is a legislative assembly, but union territory. In Western region, we had 2 union territories. Daman, Dadra, Nagar Haveli, and Diu was separate. On 26th January 2020, when J&K state was reorganized, J&K is 1 union territory and Ladakh is another union territory. These union territory of Western region were combined. So now, why I'm talking about geography? Because land lies on a geography. So our understanding of the states, districts, tehsil, panchayat, they are the real, when we want to convert from agriculture to non-agriculture, we chartered accountants sometimes will feel our job is GST, direct taxes, accounting, auditing. So when real estate also comes, the indirect taxes we started looking when the audit came, in the weight when the audit came. Before that, Bombay sales tax, like was the name for Maharashtra, the tax practitioners and advocates were doing. There also we started looking at, because there is a chartered accountant certificate, Form 3, Form 5. But my friends, I am telling you, one ability which we learn in CA course is called professional skepticism. Another meaning for professional skepticism is inquiring attitude. बेटा बहुत धीरे बात करो, संगीता कंप्यूटर में जा रही है आवाज. Sorry for the interruption. So my request is, whether it is, today I took out few publications, hard publication, DCR. We can make more money if we understand DCR. Development control regulations, though architects, because few terminology, FSI, the land measurement, even if we want to understand Rera, Rera applies in an area where MRTP, like in Maharashtra, each state has a Regional and Town Planning Act. The name may differ. In Maharashtra, we have Maharashtra Regional and Town Planning Act 1966. This today is also a Maharashtra Day. It is also a Gujarat Day, because the Bombay province was converted into two states, Maharashtra state and Gujarat state, on 1st May 1960. Dr. Salimji, he is like a powerhouse for me. We will, this week or next week, we will do a program for Maharashtra. We did a program for Rajasthan on 17th April, Maharashtra and Gujarat. So involving all branches, there are certain laws which are state specific, and real estate is one of them. Real estate laws. So like I made this book, Land Laws of Maharashtra. The number of laws in the list may be about 30. But if you see the size of the book, it is half of the Income Tax Act. And then we don't have only Income Tax Act, we have income tax rules, we have circulars, we have notifications. So I want each one of you to master real estate subject. Rera is a very small legislation. The book I made, this book contains 224 pages. Central Rera Act, then all the rules. See, the act is made by Parliament or Legislative Assembly. Rules are made by the ministry. In the state, the minister, the person in charge is called minister, but in the state we have departments. So we have a housing department, and in central we have MOHUA, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, which has passed this central law called Rera, because the Parliament cannot, manage the laws. So laws are managed by 53 central ministries we are having. The number may be, because now cooperative ministry is added, and within ministries we have departments. So laws actually are managed by one of the department in the ministry. Certain ministries don't have a department, like Ministry of Corporate Affairs. It is a single ministry without a department. So, and then regulations are made by regulator. So we have a Rera is a regulator. Real Estate Regulation and Development Authority. Now, and then we have a tribunal. Tribunal is not a court. See, the exclusive right, with due respect to all my legal professionals, I myself also practiced as an advocate for 4 years. The legal professional exclusive right is to appear in the court. Court is district court. We have a taluka courts also, High Court and Supreme Court, 25 high courts. So tribunals, there are 40 plus tribunals. We are bringing one certificate course on business tribunals. There are 25 business tribunals like Rera, PMLA, then under the Benami law. All these tribunals, chartered accountant is one of the professional, and in fact his name comes first because CHA, and then cost accountant, company secretaries, and legal professional comes. So I would, and the real estate, Ashwin bhai, in Maharashtra we have a, there is a voluminous book brought out last year by the WRC chairman Manish Gadia under his leadership. Ramesh Prabhu, Ashwin bhai was a part of that, Dilip Agarwal, myself. So my request to each one of you is, everything in this world happens twice. When 2 months back I started working, we had a 12th February as a council year. 26th February, the committees were announced. So actual working started 26th of February. And I thought we will start with webinars on Friday and Saturday. So in economic and commercial law, we started a webinar on Friday. And CPEC we started on Saturday. So we said we will do 2 programs in a day. Now we are doing 8 to 10 programs in a week. So everything happens twice, first in the mind and then in the reality. Today, all the experts are here because myself and Dilip Agarwal, we decided we will have a Rera Day celebration on 1st May. Earlier, one of our friends here, Amit Kedia, had given this idea 2 months back. We were planning to do 2 days physical webinar on 30th April and 1st May. But it is a very sandwich day. 1st May falls on Sunday. So Rera chairmen were not available. MOVA minister was not available. So we will do that program because slowly we are coming in the physical mode. Everything happens for good. I am so thankful to God Almighty that COVID-19 came in my life. Because this technology, this webinar is taught by COVID. Technology is there since last 40 years. Zoom is there. Webinar is there. Tech support may be there. But 24th March 2020, people had no work, complete lockdown for 3 weeks. What to do? How to talk to people? And then webinar came. And when the webinar came, people in the whole world, like, if I want to do a webinar of 192 countries, at the click of the button, it happens. So for we professionals, whatever we want to learn, it is available in Google. It is available in platform. I am, encouraging one concept called thought leader. I want to borrow 5-10 minutes from Ashwin bhai's time, Puneet Bhatia ji's time, Vaibhav, Dilip Agarwal, because I am very passionate. Ramkaran ji, how many participants are there in the webinar? Okay. What is my desire is all 251 should look at this subject. This subject is a gold mine. Now, how to become, it is my passion that you become a global practitioner in real estate. I call Rera 5% of total real estate subject. Manish Yadav ji, welcome. Because what is Rera? Rera is a remedy to the promoter and to the real estate buyer. It is not only housing. It may be a purchase of commercial premises. It may be a purchase of land. The scope is wide. So it is only a remedy. Where alternative remedy is available under Consumer Protection Act 2019. It is a remedy to resolve a dispute. And to resolving a dispute, the best remedy is negotiation. Two parties talking to themselves. If that do not happen, mediation. Now we have a mediation bill 2021 in the parliament. These Reras also, they say, 1 or 2 hearings are just. are vested, I would use the word, because authority says, would you like to go for conciliation? Conciliation is nothing but a mediation.
Unknown caller.
So I request all those who are on the Zoom now, put their mobile on silent. I purposely kept it on so that when it rings, it reminds me. So I want each one of you to be a thought leader. If you want to be an expert in real estate, speak real estate, write real estate, eat real estate, talk real estate. And I can guarantee you, if you put 80 hours, this is also on a higher side, 80 hours of learning, you will be a good master on real estate. See, जहां पर स्टेक ज्यादा इन्वॉल्व होता है वहां ज्यादा फीस मिलती है. So in real estate, an apartment will not come below, in any city, below 1 crore, 80 lakhs. The land parcel will not be below 50 crore. So the professional fees which is available. So one may start with, the conveyancing agreement. Again, with all respect to all professionals, CA, because of our multiple skills, accounting, finance, income tax, GST, law, contract act, we are best draftsmen. We are best draftsmen in the world. So over the year, and if you look at the old agreements, 50 years back, 20 years back, they used a very high English. So we have to go to dictionary. They use the word covenant, and nowadays drafting is simple English drafting, which both sides understands who are parties to the contract. We are also coming out with a certificate course on drafting of business documents. There are more than 500 documents. So if I get one real estate developer as my client, I need not look at any other client. I can do all conveyancing. I can do real estate compliances. I can do agreements. I can do Rera representation for that client. And if I become where I will get the client, not in this webinar. This webinar, all are professionals. I don't call them even competitors. They are supporters. Like I have learned all real estate Rera law with Ashwin Bhai. I had won my matter. I was not knowing Rera. What is Rera tribunal? What is Rera? So, and from Dilip Agarwal ji and all other friends. So, what I'm saying, when you want to learn a subject, look at the subject, read from Google, buy all the books, visit the tribunal. I'm surprised, Ashwin Bhai, I want to take up, I wanted to invite Rera tribunal member. They don't allow the entry. It's a public tribunal. They can't close the tribunal. They can't say that only parties to the dispute can come. No. Tribunal means it is public. It is mediation where only parties to the disputes are there. But since we professionals are not raising the issues, this is happening. There is no transparency. There are no email IDs available of the tribunal members, of the registrar, and things like that. The cases are taking so much time, 2 years, 3 years. After the final hearing, the judgments do not come for 3 months, 4 months. So, similarly, agriculture to non-agriculture, if it is taking time, it is we citizen, we have to raise issues. These are our rights. You have to make things transparent. You have to make things available. Now, this is, so you start writing. This is one real estate book I had been writing for many years. And so, thought leader is one who speaks, one who writes, and one who uses social media. Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta, you make YouTube channel on real estate, blog, there are online platforms. Client will be available from CREDAI, the Real Estate Developers Association, Builders Association of India, from now we have a MDP, multidisciplinary partnership. So we can be partner with an architect, with an engineer. So those you start with PMC in Maharashtra. You know, the housing redevelopment is a big area, very, very big area of consultancy. Because getting a land, there is a investment in the land. But in housing redevelopment, the land is already with the housing society. I know many of our professionals, including Dilip Agarwalji, they are masters. They are like encyclopedia on redevelopment of housing societies, getting the finance. And there also we have a redevelopment through the society itself doing a redevelopment, or they giving a redevelopment to the builder. It's so many branches are there in the real estate. It's so much fascinating. You know, we have to start loving the subject if we want to become expert in the subject. I always, you know, another statement I use, every expert was a beginner on day one. Day one, that person was not expert. Over the time, that person has become expert by speaking, by addressing, by attending conferences, by learning. Like Ashwin Saji, they started, you know, one association for the welfare of, you know, all those who are connected with the real estate. So it is 10:35. I'll just see in the chat box if there are any queries. Because I'll be taking simple queries. The technical queries, I will leave it to the technical experts. I will take the queries, how to become expert, how to learn a subject, what institute can do. See, we have unlimited time, you know, 24/7 by 365. Dr. Salim Khan, you know, gets up at my timelines at 4 a.m. and we talk at 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m., what we will do during the day. He's a officer of the institute at Bombay office. So if anybody has any query, please quickly put in the chat box you know, my contact details are there on the ICAI website, or if you write to any email ID of the institute, I'll come back to you, talk to you, how you can expert, how you can make 20 crore a year, and I will not charge any share. Later on, if you feel, no, Mr. Adukia has given substantial time, you can give me 50 lakhs out of 20 crore. But I have a passion to motivate each and every member to excel in this field. I have a passion, you know, those who are from the real estate industry, Bebhavji, Manishji, Puneetji, to make representation, to make everybody accountable. First, I make myself accountable, and then every person who is connected with this industry, whether at the state level, whether at a district level, whether at a central level, whatever may be position. The Chief Justice of India also is one of the citizens. And every office is with responsibility. Like in the principle of delegation, what I can delegate is only authority. Responsibility remains with me. So with this, I complete my address and I hand over to Dr. Salim and Dilipji for the...
Rajkumarji, only one indulgence.
Yeah, please.
You just referred some of the issues with regard to the Rera tribunal. We are not getting the public information and all these things. There is always a guardian judge over the Rera tribunal. So we can certainly write to the guardian judge as an institute.
हम करते हैं. हम असीम भाई, मैंने क्यों इश्यू रेज किए, क्योंकि अभी मैंने एक केस अपियर किया है, 2 महीने पहले कंप्लीट किया है. अभी उनको 5 रिमाइंडर लिख दिए हैं. अरे एक छोटा सा ऑर्डर बनाने में उसी दिन आपको ऑर्डर बनाना चाहिए. देयर आर सुप्रीम कोर्ट जजेस हु डिक्टेट द ऑर्डर ऑन द सेम डे आफ्टर द कंप्लीशन ऑफ द हियरिंग. सो हम क्या करेंगे, जितना भी समय हम लोगों को है, दिलीप जी, आप, अश्विन जी, I want to aggressively take up, and Dr. Salim is all the time to visit. We have officers at Delhi, Madam Hina, Madam Deepika, they will visit Delhi office. I also sometimes when I go to Delhi visit Bombay office, we can visit. Similarly, we have friends in all the 28 states and 8 union territories. We want to have a liaison with all trade associations. We want to create a ICAI and that CREDI team, ICAI and Builders Association of India. Similarly, there is a national level Real Estate Agents Association, Architects Association, Council of Architecture, the engineers. So everybody who is an intermediary in the real estate industry, because real estate industry contributes to the economic growth of the country, of the states. It's a foundation industry, one of the core industry. So therefore we will do more work in this. Therefore we have also have a 4 days lecture series, 9th May to 12th May, because every day, like from tomorrow to 5th, we have a FEMA 8-hour session we started. And Friday, Saturday, we have a regular webinar 4 to 6. We want each one of you to address our Friday and Saturday webinar also. And in 9 to 12th, I want, a lot of material we develop. And we start a national level study circle, state level study circle. So those individuals who are on the webinar, I request them in the business and in the profession, 1 + 1 is 11, not 2. And if 3 individuals come together, they are 111. If 4 individuals come together, they are 1111. They are not 4. So we have immense power. We have unlimited power. God has given us unlimited enthusiasm. But जैसे कोई भी ऐप होता है, ऐप को खोलेंगे नहीं और उसके फीचर्स नहीं देखेंगे तो वो ऐप कितना भी इंपॉर्टेंट हो कोई काम का नहीं है. वैसे ये भी हमारा ऐप है. माइंड इज एन ऐप. दिस इज टू बी ओपन. This is to be used. And we have to know that when God made us, He made us with unlimited time. Though He gave physically 24 hours, unlimited enthusiasm, and unlimited memory, unlimited skill. We have put our own boundary to our capacity. आज के लिए इतना ही काफी है क्योंकि हमें रेरा पे बात करनी है, रेरा पे सुनना है. थैंक यू.
Vaibhav sir, please, you can take it ahead from here.
Yeah, hi everybody. First of all, we really thanks ICAI and the Committee of Professional Economic Laws and Economic Advisory and Commercial Laws for inviting us on the forum. I personally feel that it's an amazing platform where so many people through a web call or maybe a webinar are hearing us, understanding our views. And we have an opportunity today that we have 3 amazing dignitaries with us on the panel. So let me start immediately with a formal introduction of all the dignitaries so that we have an overview about them, and then maybe we can immediately start with the panel session. So first of all, we have Mr. Manish Yadav with us. Manish currently is the CEO and MD with ASK Financial Holdings. In his previous role, he was headed real estate with Birla Sun Life Real Estate Fund. And then prior to that, he has worked at immense leadership positions with ICICI Bank and Dhanlaxmi Bank. He's an BE and MBA, and he's an Howard alumni. Manish carries with him immense experience in real estate across different geographies. And I have an honor to work directly with him. So thank you, Manish, for coming and accepting our invitation to be present here. Secondly, with us is Mr. Puneet Bhatia. I can say he is an encyclopedia of real estate. Maybe there are no real estate forums where Puneet's presence is not being felt. He is being heard, and he is speaking about real estate, various aspects across multiple forums. Maybe none of the meetings in real estate forums at any large level could be concluded without his presence. Puneet is currently Senior Director with ICICI Venture. Prior to that, he has headed real estate equity fund, which is held by Rera Asset, which is one of the largest Korean institute. Before that, he has worked with Wells Fargo, ICICI, and I believe he is there in real estate right from 1994. I believe the formal time when real estate had started becoming a professional body, or maybe the kind of investments are started coming in India. Third, and the most important dignitary with us is Sharad. Sharad is currently CEO of Motilal Oswal Real Estate Equity Fund. The best thing of inviting Sharad, and definitely it's always a privilege to hear him, is that Motilal Oswal Real Estate Equity Fund is one of the largest and one of the most stable real estate equity fund, and it's a homegrown equity fund with Motilal Oswal Group. And before this, Sharad has worked again with ICICI Bank. He has been part of ASK, and he has worked with First Friend Bank to start his banking career. Between Manish, Puneet, and Sharad, I believe we are there on the 76th year of independence. I believe all these three guys cover at least that years of experience among each other. So welcome to all of you. So basically, we are there today talking about Rera. It's a Rera Foundation Day, I believe, from 2016. It's been almost 6 years that Rera has come in picture in India. With these three gentlemen on board, we definitely want to understand the current position of real estate, as well as maybe the kind of ups and downs with industry is going, and the kind of funding availability. Because as in chartered accountants, I believe we always found an opportunity to understand how and well the real estate movements is happening, wherein all the real estate developers are heading, and what kind of funds or movement in terms of the economy development real estate is creating. So I'm just beginning that. Maybe to start with this, my first question, I believe I'm starting straight away. So I first want to ask Mr. Manish about sir, how you see Rera contributing towards real estate industry.
Thank you so much, Vaibhav, and thank you to the whole forum and my fellow friends, both Sharad and Puneet. It's a pleasure, and especially on a first May Day. Okay, so that's where it is. I think so. As an industry, we've moved a long way from an informal sector where we started off, and all the stories what we've heard in past, the good stories and the bad stories all across. But I think so. As an industry, we've come across a long way from there. Today, we proudly can talk about it that we are one of the organized sector, and thanks to Rera for that. And obviously, there is a lot of focus from the government to support this industry. Lot to do with the contribution to the GDP, so that can't go away. Secondly, it's a labor intensive. So from that standpoint, very critical industry for the growth. So what has Rera contributed? If I have to formally set it off, it's put you under the organized sector forum. So it was a completely disorganized sector. Good old days, there were no entry barriers. So anybody could have done anything and could have sold anything and could have done anything. So, and there were nothing which was available from a customer standpoint, at which forum does he fight, and from individuality standpoint, there was nothing to be available. Lastly, when we look at institutions, the depth, what is required and what the industry can provide, there was completely lost, or rather there was no, it was so opaque that you can't even see anything. So the world has changed since then. Obviously, the fundamental factor is trust. So there are three legs to it. The customers gain from this Rera. The institutional borrowers or the funds who are funding the whole industry are much more trustworthy, and they understand how the guidelines are. And lastly, from a regulator, which is a very, very important aspect and a contributor to this industry, because being a regulated industry, it becomes very critical. The third thing what it's done, it's done a standardization. In spite of being a state subject, today this industry needed standardization, so that across the states you have a standard guideline or rules available. So that's definitely a big help with what has been done by Rera. Not to forget, there's a financial discipline which has been put across very clearly to define how things needs to be done, how each of the entity, whether it's a developer, whether it's a borrower, or whether it's a lender, okay, how do they define and how do they work into that? So clearly, it's a win-win situation for everyone. From a customer standpoint and from an institutional standpoint, have we come across completely? I think so. We are still in a growing up stage, but the good part is there is enough discipline which has happened across. So for me, and as an institution, when we look at it, we proudly feel we are much more trustworthy, whether it is institutions or whether it is developers, and from a customer standpoint. So definitely from all those aspects, I feel it's a good beginning and a humble start from there. I leave it to you.
Perfect. So maybe I remember some old days of my learning. So somebody told me, and this is like in the right spirit we accept. So there is a very general question which people put, why is there a brake in a car? Is it helping or it's accepting or maybe deteriorating the speed? So we say that brakes allow you to drive car much faster because you know where to stop and how to stop. So I believe Rera definitely is not a regulator which stops activity, but in my personal submission, it brings the kinds of control or it brings the kind of framework in which it becomes more regulated. So in same line, I'm asking Puneet ji, Puneet, how you see, because you've been a veteran in real estate industry and you have seen industries pre-Rera, post-Rera. So though post-Rera, it's just 6 years, but how you see real estate industry pre-Rera and post-Rera?
Thanks, Vaibhav. Let me first thank Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for giving this opportunity. And it is good and nice to be among the fellow panelists. All of us have been ex-colleagues at some point of time, so including yourself. So it's a pleasure to be in that situation. I call life in real estate actually something like a pre and a post Google life. So what was really happening in the case of a Google, if you look at it, the information was a big challenge. The transparency of the information was a big challenge. And what Rera has actually done, they have actually acted as a catalyst to boost that particular demand. So, it's something like moving towards a panacea towards sorting out multiple issues in real estate. Now, what are those multiple issues? The biggest issue is actually crisis of confidence. So by the home buyer to basically look at buying a home. If the home buyer is not buying a home, naturally the lender would have two minds, or a private equity institution would actually have two minds in terms of should we look at it. So what has Rera done is basically lenders' confidence, the institutional private equity, foreign private equity confidence has brought in immensely because of the Rera being there. The home loans is not available to a customer if the project is not Rera registered. So that is another big change. So developers have actually realized. Actually, for the first time, I said the developers, while a lot of big developers and a lot of organized developers in the medium category as well, were anyways doing a life like a Rera because they were launching the project post approvals and all. But I think large majority of the developers have realized that there could be issues. I remember in an informal chat in the early days of Rera, a developer said, "Mujhe jail nahi jaane ka hai. So let me just launch the project after it is all approvals are in place." So I think that sea change is there, which is now, if you look at from a numbers perspective, obviously it has helped. The unsold inventory has come down from 30 months in calendar year 2017 to roughly about 16 months currently. Part of it is the pandemic, where we're realizing the importance of home above or the roof above our head. But on a package basis, yes, these are all positive signs. I covered largely on the residential side because the Rera does affect majority on the residential side, unlike the other asset classes of a warehousing or an office, because they generally are currently institutional play, which are more development, hold, and then lease. So that's where it is. And on a pan-India basis, I mean, at least the broad numbers I looked at, we roughly have about 71,000 projects now under registration, which is a very decent and a good number, with over 78,000 cases have been disposed by the regulatory authorities, which means somewhere in the system is as well working, and therefore that confidence is basically coming by the home buyer. It's a beautiful step in the right direction. Thank you.
Great. So that's a quick learning. Thank you, Puneet ji. Welcome, Sharad. And just to give another aspect of Sharad, he, out of the other dignitaries apart me, is also a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So he's a fellow CA among us. Maybe we always take up, opportunity, and we always take a privilege and a kind of acceptance if somebody also from our own fraternity helps such in liquid positions like being the CEO of Motilal Oswal Real Estate Fund. So, Sharad, since you are heading Real Estate Equity Fund, how you see investing as an equity investor post Rera?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Weber, for the opportunity and the CA Institute. So great to see Manish, Puneet, and you. All of us have worked together. And remembering, we used to work together like 15, 18 years back for a long period. So it's so nice to see. I'm also very happy the first time I'm coming on any platform which is organized by our institute. I've grown up wherein across the board in my family, everybody is chartered accountants. So my wife, my brother, my uncles, it's just chartered accountants. So glad to be on a platform like this. Just to add what Manish and Puneet was saying, most of the points got covered. I will bring a perspective around the consumer. Look, any kind of industry which has to do well, you need to have consumer protection, especially in financial products or especially in fixed assets like real estate. Let me borrow a parallel with equity markets. Equity markets were started in 1978. And till that time, the SEBI was not strengthened in 1994. You had various kind of things which took place, which had multiple scams. The markets could have been seen as manipulative. And once the SEBI was strengthened in 94, look what the regulator has done in 20, 30 years. It's completely controlled. There is consumer protection. Most of the investments happens through mutual fund. The other example could be insurance companies, insurance sector. IRDA was set up around 2000. Prior to that, there was only government-led or government-owned insurance companies. Once there is consumer protection through regulator, level playing field, accountability, it brings in scale. For real estate, it happened little late in my view, but thankfully it happened in 2017. It will bring in transparency, accountability, and customer protection. There is a place where the consumer, not only consumer, rest of the stakeholders can also go and have their grievances addressed. Second important point there is data. I think what we are not realizing right now is that, like Puneet was mentioning, 74,000 complaints got addressed. Over a period of time, the data which will be available, and all of it is in public domain, would help investors like us, will help give confidence to large offshore institutional investors to come and look at that data and make a sense out of it. So the only flip side in Rera is that land is a state subject. So it then boils down to the motivation of each of the state leaders and policy makers, how rigorously they want to run it. But what we have seen, we are present in 8 cities. We actively invest in these 8 markets. Rera is something which has been given due importance by all these states. As far as our investing and how it helps us, all the reasons that I have told you, we are in a business of taking risk, but risk which are measurable, which can be mitigated. We are not in a business of taking unknown risk. So I think Rera helps in multiple ways, and as it further grows in strength over a period of next decade, I think this will be one big watershed event that would have happened in the real estate industry.
Perfect. Thank you, Sharad. I believe we have a very good overview about Rera from all the dignitaries. Now I'm stepping in maybe broadly more in terms of understanding their business, or maybe how they see investments, or how they see lending or funding opportunities. Puneet, one question to you. Since real estate, it's been like maybe 70 years post-independence, real estate as an industry. I believe post-Rera, we are now slightly started recognizing that as an industry. But where you see pan-India level developers heading towards? It is becoming more consolidation. We will have still tier 2, tier 3 developers. Where are we?
So, I was actually on a panel 3 days back with RICS, and I actually said in the last 28 years of my career in the Indian real estate industry, right from investment banking, lending, broking, advisory, private equity, I think this is one of the most unique year and a couple of years ahead, because I call this a period of manthan, or actually a churn. So effectively, manthan ke baad kya hua tha? You had the Amrit which potentially came up. So why I'm also saying that, because I find two very extreme situations in the country today. On one side, we just talked about, the number of cases, as I said some time back, number of unsold inventory has come down from a 30 months to a 16 months. You have developers in certain part of the country announcing the best ever sales in the history for almost 25, 30, 40 years, with a 10,000 plus kind of sale numbers. The first homes are selling, the second homes are selling, the plotted is selling. As a country, we absorb about 2.5 to 2.7 lakhs per year in the top 7 cities. That is in a way back. The office sector seems to be coming back, which was actually at the peak in 2019. And if you draw an average, 2021, in spite of a loss of a quarter, we were almost nearing that average number. And there are some messages towards that side. Warehousing is coming back, retail is coming back. Warehousing, in fact, has seen almost $7.5 billion of capital inflow over the last few years. But on the other side, I find another situation. Now, what is that situation? In the real estate industry, I'm seeing the rising interest cycle. Execution is a big challenge and still continues to be a challenge. The sales are not across, so the democratization of sales are not really across the board. So there are some developers which are selling, some developers which are struggling, right? Debt servicing continues to be an issue with the developers who are basically sitting with a large amount of debt, and therefore the refinance opportunity has to some extent dried down. Compliance costs have gone up. Input costs have gone beyond the roof, and especially in the last, I would say last 2 months, especially. The sales are big at the time of a launch or near the completion, but during the life cycle of the project, it continues to be a bit of challenge. So I feel that, in this point of time, what will happen is there will be certain developers which would emerge. So, I mean, we roughly had about, I think at the last count, about 13,000 odd developers listed with CAI. Now, 13,000 developers on a pan-India basis, I don't think would really be the situation. There will be a lot of M&A which is happening, which has already started happening. I think that will increase further. But real estate as an asset class, and Rajkumarji at the start of the conversation was talking about a 1 crore home, and that's kind of a minimum ticket size, which is there. But if I draw the industry, a real estate industry, because you're talking about where is the real estate headed, it is a fairly large industry. I mean, effectively, if I value all the total stocks largely in the 4 asset classes, which is residential, which would be roughly about, $480 odd billion, office about 90, warehousing at about 11, retail. So effectively, we're talking about $600 billion. It is expected by 2030, this number is going to go to $3.5 trillion. So the scope as an industry for real estate is huge across all asset classes, right? I said about 2.5 to 2.7 lakhs homes we sell. China at its peak was selling 1 crore homes. So 2.5 lakhs, top 7 cities, 1 crore homes by China in a year, obviously a few years back. But what I'm trying to say, the scale of a momentum is practically no comparison where potentially it can go up. So I mean, I'm pretty bullish on the sector. Rera is a beautiful step towards the same direction, and I think we are headed to a situation where this particular year, and as I said, that Manthan, there would be this would differentiate basically men between boys as we go along.
But do you see a lot of developers getting eliminated? It's more of consolidation which is happening to a large genre. Ultimately, it will going to be some few large developers pan India, or maybe there will be room for level play for other smaller developers also.
See, if the sector itself has a kind of a number of, as I said, sometime like $40 billion of a stock per se, and we add about $50 billion of a supply every year. See, some developers will definitely get eliminated. I don't think we would have a 13,000 developers across, which will continue to strive and thrive. So there will be certain bad apples who are not able to get their act together, the pre-launches, the lack of equity capital and all that stuff. So I do feel that some of those developers will get eliminated. Or basically they will tie up with certain larger developers. So they may be sitting on a certain prime land, but they may not have a ability and capability to do the development on their own. And we are seeing that increasingly happening now, especially with the tier 1 developers coming in. So I think some will get eliminated, like a churn in the industry. But I think the good ones are definitely here to stay, because the buyer is going to differentiate based on the track record, execution, delivery, construction happening at the site, ability to get the finance, ability to get the private equity money. And therefore, since the buyer is basically differentiating the two, finally it is the consumer who is going to take that on call and say which is going to remain there. The guys who have executed would continue to remain.
Okay. Almost in similar line, question to you, Manish, since you would have seen developers across so many industry geographies, I would say, do you personally feel the developers can sustain these ups and downs? I believe I heard like post ILFS, people were talking about that most of the developers will pack their bag, and then something changed post COVID. The momentum increased. We see home in any case is always roti, kapda or makan. It falls in the basic necessity of the people, and the sales started moving forward. So it's very uncertain, but do you see developers are there to sustain these ups and downs? That they are prepared for ups and downs?
So to answer that, one has to see very clearly from where we are coming from. Okay. As I stated earlier, there was no entry barriers. So anybody who had land could have become a developer. Anybody who was collating land for someone became a developer. Anybody just had a plot, he started developing floors. So there was no entry barrier. You just needed raw capital or in terms of land, and you could sell it because it was selling like a hot cake. And people believed the whole story that this asset class is going to go. And obviously, with the GFC happening in 2008, the world changed. Okay, what has changed over a period of time is 3-4 things. One, definitely Rera is one definitely act of body, which clearly defined the framework. This is land. This money will go towards land. You need to own the land, get all the approvals in place, then launch. So that was one fundamental which became an entry barrier to lot many people, and especially the pre-launches. Second was the way the money need to be utilized. That means that 70-30, how that money will go, which one is going to get money first, and then how it's going to be. So that means the money flow, which was done by pre-approval, pre-booking, all those sales which used to happen had ceased to stop. The third and the most critical is you need to have the people who are selling or the brokers, they need to be registered. So not anybody could have sold anything to anybody. As Sharad stated, what happened in capital market, what happened in life insurance, I think so the similar happened here in Rera. You need to be a regulated body to sell. You need to have a license, and so that there's a regulation in place. With all these things in place, my sense is we've gone one step further with RBI coming into the place. If we recall, post 2008, RBI had clearly stated the banks cannot get into speculative business of funding lands. Okay, so that was the one major landmark thing which was done by RBI. And I think so in last 2 weeks, or rather a month or so, what we've seen is those regulations are coming onto the NBFCs also. They can't be speculative. They can't fund land. You can only fund any project where you have approvals in place. So fundamentally what's happening is there will be an institutional play which is coming. That means if you have land, you have approvals in place, you can launch the project. And if you can launch the project and you have a sales, that means you have trust. People are ready to buy your brand, is where you will get the premium. Because of all this, what's happening is, and the industry being a capital intensive industry, that means you need, and land being the major raw material, 30, 35, 40%, depending on city, the cost of the land is where the whole project cost lies there. What has happened is that now the profitability, which used to be at one point of time, roughly about 35, 40, going up to 45% also became regulated, and people were looking at a return, anything approximately about 20% and all. With all the escalation, with interest prices rising, commodity prices rising, customers losing trust, brands becoming very important, and large institutional set of players like your Tata, your Birlas, your Piramals, your Raymonds, your Heroes, everybody coming onto the place. And what they are bringing onto the table is very fundamental. Trust that we will complete and deliver the project. Okay. And second reason why they are onto it is because the money flow which is available, and it is available to them. That means institutions are ready to fund them because of the large balance sheets or the whole fundamental of discipline. That's where the whole thing. So my sense is that whole 13,000 set of people who were developers and there was no entry barriers has definitely in the last few years has cut down. People don't see profitability in this business. So they better be a land aggregator or they are doing a joint venture. So in a nutshell, large will become larger. The good people who've survived this will become larger because they've survived through this particular thing, as clearly stated that what Puneet said, manthan ho gaya. Manthan ke baad, what is left is nectar. So people who survived this has been able to deliver. Their cranes are moving, will continue to grow bigger. The fly-by-night who felt that this is something which was available to them are not able to sell. So even in current times when we are seeing all the bullishness, I don't think so the survival is available for the smaller sect who just wanted a profit. That it doesn't lie there. So definitely consolidation is in place. And we've seen that happening in the space.
So what I can get out of this is maybe it's not a question of bigger or smaller developer. It's more about compliance or adherence to the basic principles of real estate as a business. Those developers will remain going to be there and they will survive. Normally,
one more thing I'll add, Weber. One more thing. Since this business is all about capital now, okay? So do you have either your balance sheet or your brand where you clearly say that the capital, whether it is my growth capital or my working capital, is available to me? That becomes a very primary thing for sustenance in a long run. That's it.
Perfectly right. See, for the benefit of so many other people who are there with us on this webinar, there is one thing which always comes up whenever it comes to real estate, maybe lending institutions or maybe private equity. We always talk about top 7-8 cities. Sharad, this question is to you. Why such a stepmotherly treatment to tier 2 cities? When we are talking about compliance and adherence to Rera, maybe even a tier 3 city developer can be as adherent to compliances or framework than in comparison to a tier 1 city guy. So why don't institutes look into those cities?
That's a very pertinent question, Weber. And let me say that we would also be found on the fault line here as an institution or as a fund manager, where we haven't done beyond 7 cities. We have done Ahmedabad, and now we have looked at Chandigarh. Look, it's a problem which needs to be looked from a macro perspective. India is a city of India as a country is a city of large cities, wherein bulk of the economic activities, migration is happening in top 7 to 8 cities. And there's a structural problem. Look, where is the bulk of the demand is coming from? Forget about real estate. Look at any kind of a consumer product. It is coming out of the middle class creation, which has taken in last 20 years, which is happening because of the IT services, which is happening because of some of the other services or historical businesses like financial services and some of the other traditional businesses are in. If you look beyond these 8 cities, the economic activities in some of these cities are still dependent on the old age businesses which are happening. I think structurally now with COVID, and I was speaking to some of the large IT occupants, they are facing challenge of getting their employees back. One of the large IT companies is thinking of branching out some of the tier 2 cities. And some of the names that they told me is Indore, Bhubaneswar, and Mysore, because the talent is there and they are not very keen to move back to the metros. I think one is structural challenge. Second is the opportunity size. And I think here we have to look at from a business perspective. We are all in a business of maximizing return. Look at risk-adjusted highest return. Capital will go where there is a risk-adjusted highest return. The opportunity size in tier 2 cities are significantly smaller than a tier 1 city. I think these are the couple of reasons. Having said that, we have started looking at some of the other tier 2 cities. Some of the tier 2 cities wherein one thing that we need to witness is that there is some bit of new economy getting grown there. I'll be very sorry to say, but on old economy, the growth and the amount of money that can be poured in some of these tier 2 cities will be limited, which would mean that they'll remain on the fringes. I'm hopeful that some of the cities that I have named, Mysore, Bhubaneswar, Chandigarh, Jaipur, some of these cities looks promising. And this is also a perspective from a private equity. But if you look at from a lending, or lending is only not developers lending, but whole lot of other lending that the institutions do. Most of the banks are present there. Most of the NBFCs are present there. We have a housing finance company wherein we are only present in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. It's about the business opportunity and the strategy that we have chosen. As far as the wholesale lending to developers, I think the opportunity size in tier 1 cities is so large that only leftover capital is finding its way. But I'm hopeful in the next 3 to 5 years that will change.
Perfect. We look forward for that, Sharad. Actually, while we always talk about a regulator coming in picture, and we see real estate moving to a more organized industry, still when it comes to lending, Puneet, this question is to you because with your vintage, we want your overview about it. Why, like when we talk about industry, like we deal as a chartered accountants, we have clients across all industries. There we talk about lending, banks talk about collateral like 25%, 40%, 50%. Even for large industrial houses, there is unsecured loans available at plenty. But real estate, now it's an organized framework, but still we talk about maybe minimum 1x cover, 1.5x cover, 2x cover. And still banks talk about very heavy risk weight. I believe somewhere it should be taken care now.
So risk and return are basically, kind of work in a way towards that tandem. So while I agree with you, the Rera has, helped us in bringing that transparency. The information is available, but still the industry is opaque. The real estate industry is largely opaque. I mean, we had a FDI starting way back in Presno 2005, but and those are the best of the names, but still we are far from industry to be kind of robust. There's a lot of unpredictability in this, because what is happening? You have a land, you're basically launching, you're not completely sure of what, how, when and how would the sales come in. So the data on the unpredictability is there. The capital markets are still undeveloped. So whatever we may like to say on the real estate as an asset class, but from a exit perspective, the realty index is being taken seriously over the last few years. I think even pre-pandemic, the while it was there, but it was not kind of taken that seriously across the analysts, in that space. The asset monetization at times becomes a challenge. So what has happened there is, when there's an enforceability angle to a project, it could be a half built. So the new developer coming in, getting into a customer centric issues, changing it. So or something of that sort, right? I mean so exit per se, because what will a lender would look at if there's a situation, he's able to smoothly and in a quickest possible time frame exit it. And because of that, and the liquidity is in a way low, so you have to the new incoming developer will have to find another institutional lender to basically helping acquire that. We have done, as ICAI venture, we have done some of those situations where we funded developer X to acquire developer Y's project, because developer Y was in a situation with the lenders. So fundamentally, I think we are obviously towards that right direction, but that risk weightage is largely high because of the reasons and challenges I mentioned. It still requires some work to be done.
To an extent, I agree, but just to take forward our morning discussion, Puneet, while we were before this session, we were talking about various aspects in real estate. I believe one aspect which I very eager to discuss here, since we have the opportunity of Mr. Rajkumar Adukia also with us, and maybe some other dignitaries from CA Institute who can pass the message to the relevant body. I personally want your opinion, Sharad, about it, that as in RBI, the kind of process and framework in which lending was designed, this is way changed. I personally feel, because the policies and the frameworks were the kind of funding parameters, like there would not be any funding for land. I recall land can be speculative, but it's no more speculative now. Now won't we see the rates escalating like donkey years, maybe things happening, maybe doubling the rates in 2 years and all. And the input cost has become so much. So today for any project, as we discussed, 30-40% cost goes for land, or maybe for the premiums, which is again part of FSI. And then the RBI comes that this will not be funded by banks. I believe this is an opportunity for equity funds to step in and find business here. But won't you feel RBI should now look into again and tweak some framework for at least lending for real estate?
So, Vaibhav, for every sector, every industry, when there is a correction course which is taking, you need to give it time before you can make such changes in the policy. Look what has happened in last 20 years. In last 20 years, the first 10 years, the real estate industry in 2001 just took off. At the back of the entire migration in these cities like Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad, and Chennai, you had middle class growing, you have global liquidity, everybody made money. But all that money was made at the expense of the consumer. The developer's accountability and responsibilities were not defined. Last 5 years have gone to do a course correction. I believe it started in 2016 at the back of, again, a large city like Noida, gone completely rogue the way the developers were selling and not delivering, putting their hand up. 2016, we are in 2022. Lot has been done, whether it started with demonetization, then GST, then Rera, Benami property, unannounced ILFS collapse, and then COVID. I think once the dust settle on this, and there is meaningful large developer, well governed, well capitalized. On the other hand, there are large banking institution or NBFCs, and when the sector is ready to take that kind of money, probably one can make change. I think there's still some time away. As far as banks and financial institutions coming at a land stage, I would agree with Manish that one has to be cautious. We have seen this in the past. You need to have, like you are saying, there needs to be breaks in the middle. Look, real estate requires money in 2 stages. Stage 1 is for the purpose of buying land and getting approvals, priming up the site, and the stage 2 is for the purpose of construction. Developers needs to bring in equity, at least a large part of the equity, till that project has not gone into the manufacturing. Expecting lenders to come in and put in that money. See, banks are not in the business of maximizing returns. Banks' core objective is to protect the deposit holders. That money, which is cheap, cannot be diverted or put towards asset class wherein the certainty has still not been established. Having said that, I believe once the things settle and you have a level playing field, you have more transparency, which could take a couple of more years. I think this can start with affordable housing. And with the current dispensation, the clear focus on affordable housing is there. With a lower LTV, loan to value ratio, this can be achieved. I don't think that we are at this point of time when we are just coming out of a really long, tough cycle to put money, cheaper cost of money towards land. It will again make houses expensive. It will make it speculative. Let the earlier inventory get out. Let the developers and the rest of the stakeholders learn lessons from the last cycle. Let there be consumer protection. And then probably the policies can be changed. Right now, I think it will be a little early to get banking fund getting channelized towards land.
Okay. So taking forward what you were saying, post ILFS debacle, all other non-banking lenders, we have seen fall of such a large names, which has books, which have built immense books. So is, Manish, question to you, is funding available in real estate? In true sense, as per the requirements of the developers?
So to answer that, Vaibhav, it is available in rightful space now. Okay. So what you need capital for each of the segment, what we talked about and what Sharad just stated, you need capital or you need money only in 2 stages. Either it is acquisition or it is the working capital. These are the only 2 stages you need money. And there are set of money which is available, which is nothing but risk return adjusted. You can't mix 2 monies. Until now, it was all mixing of money. So money was available at the earlier stage. The set of who were giving growth capital wanted to be at a later stage. And when ILFS happened, everybody wanted to be at a post stage where we said, everything delivered, then I will give money. So it was all a mix and match. And rightfully said, please understand where we are coming from. We are coming from a state where there was no law to a time where Rera happened. A GST, which was very categorical for this industry, happened, so that very much everything is transparent. Second, more important was IBC, as rightly said, that today, if something goes wrong, where do you go? It is an illiquid asset class. You can't just get away in a day one. So you really have to find solutions to that. And last not the least, this was one speculative asset class which has been there for last 30 years. So that Benami Act, whatever said and done, the people made tons of money at the cost of only of retail investor or a customer. Okay. So today money, if you ask me, is available at a right price and for the right set of people. It is not available for everyone. And that's why, coming back to the same thing, that today the large set of developers, corporates, or institutions who've surpassed this last 2 to 3 years post ILFS, I think so the money is available. And we are finding, I mean, at a group at ASK, I mean, in last 1.5, 2 months, we would have deployed almost about 200 crores. So things are happening. We would have deployed on the lending part, we would have done almost about 150, 200 crores. So it is not that the money is, but these are buckets of money available to only specific segments. So there's no mixing, and each is at a different rate, so that the risk return, it adjusted towards that.
That's a good insight, Manish. Thank you for that. Now, maybe almost we are at the flag end of the session. Since most of the people who are attending this session always see real estate as an investment product too, with your immense experience, because as of now, everything looks green, I believe. Everywhere we see sales splurging, things moving, construction happening, things looks back on track. So do you dignitaries, maybe a question to all of you, maybe one by one we can hear from you. Do we see real estate as an investment class? And if it's an investment class, where? Residential or commercial? Sharad, maybe.
Yeah, I'll start with this. Okay, so I think I'll just give a background on what we do so that I can do a bit of context setting. We manage private equity funds. We have 5 funds. We manage little over 5,500 crores. All this money is raised locally. I happen to meet a lot of HNI and retail investors locally to raise this capital. And this is something that I've been talking to them over a period of last 8-10 years. Look, when you look at real estate as an investment class, it cannot be seen as only as a physical real estate. We need to look at real estate unless until you are looking a house for your own use, which can be more than one also. You don't really need to be obsessed with physical real estate. There are multiple financial real estate options. Eventually तो पैसा कमाना है. Idea is not कि lock in कियो, जाके lock करो, जाके बैठो, पंखा चल रहा है, AC चल रहा है. That is not the idea. Idea is to make money. If the idea is to make money, then a part of the real estate allocation should go through financial real estate. Right now, there will be 3 ways. One is capital markets, which I am leaving, which can be best done through mutual fund or experts who do capital markets. The other 2 ways. First is REIT. I think when I meet investors locally, I'm surprised at the lack of education and knowledge around REIT. REIT is a fantastic product. It needs to be part of the portfolio. It gives you a debt plus kind of a return, but significantly lesser risk than equity. It sits right in the middle. I think and we'll be happy to do one more session only on the REITs, but REIT as an asset class effectively means what? आप कोई जैसे दिल्ली में है या बॉम्बे में है. अब मैं बॉम्बे का एग्जांपल लेता हूं, मैं बॉम्बे में भी बैठा हुआ हूं. तो बॉम्बे में यू हैव अ मॉल व्हिच इज फिनिक्स मॉल, और दिल्ली में सेलेक्ट सिटी वॉक. दीज आर द 2 बेस्ट परफॉर्मिंग मॉल्स इन इंडिया. Or you go to BKC, you see best of the buildings. As an investor, you look at these buildings and you say, I wish I can be owner of these. I can be a owner of a mall or a part of a mall, or I can own one of the best buildings in BKC. That's not possible. Those buildings will cost several thousands of crore. REIT gives you an opportunity to be a part owner in these kind of assets. REIT is regulated by SEBI. REIT gives you regular rental. Basically, आपने अपना जो काम है रेंटल पे भाड़े चलाने वाला, you have given it to professional. And these are not 1 or 2 assets. It will be pool of hundreds of assets. I genuinely believe REIT as an asset class over a period of next 10 years would evolve. Anything which can give rental. मैं आपको एक fun fact बताता हूँ, you will be surprised. US, the best performing REIT in US is prison REIT. उन्होंने सब कुछ REIT कर दिया. Anything which can give rental. मतलब सारे जेल से लेके सारे एयरपोर्ट, सारी रेल रोड, everything is anything which can give rental. We'll probably not reach that kind of level in next 10 years also. But if you want to invest into malls, commercial project, offices, warehousing, schools, hospital, hotels, in next 10 years we'll reach there. So why I'm trying to push this point is that most of the people don't invest into REIT. The second financial real estate is fund like ours. Say Manish and Puneet and me, all part of our industry where we raise money locally. We at Motilal Oswal have done 5 funds. We would have done 110 investments. We have done 55 exits. We come at a certain stage, like Weber was mentioning. We come at a stage where bank cannot come. It's a regulatory arbitrage. Bank को allowed भी नहीं है ना करना है वो stage के अंदर. That is the stage. These are typically AIFs, which will have a ticket size. That is the other way to do it. I think other than that, residential real estate in my mind has become commoditized. वो दिन गए कि एक अभी प्रॉपर्टी खरीदा, उसको बयाना दिया और 3 महीने में आपको 10 लाख रुपए ज्यादा मिल रहे हैं. Those days are gone. I think real estate, residential real estate is a consumer product. There is enough and more supply. There is a regulator. Margins are thin for developer. Overall, I don't think so. The kind of money which was made in between 2000 and 2008 by speculation, that is going to come. Only way, if one has ability and want to do, it is land, which I would say as a retail investor or HNI can get very tricky. Other than that, in physical real estate, I would suggest people to be a little mindful.
That's a good view, Sharad. Rather, I straight away connected with my discussion with some other developer who is planning for a REIT. And we were talking about that the kind of advertisements, like you would hear and see hoardings across country, mutual fund sahi hai. So we always feel ki why not REIT sahi hai? Because as there is no body which controls framework or which takes ownership of advertising as an asset class.
Actually, Weber, I'll tell you, private equity funds like ours, in last 8 years, and I'm talking on behalf of our fraternity, in 8 years, real estate has given 0 or negative return. By and large, real estate in the sense, physical real estate, anybody would have invested after 2012 would have got 0 return, barring last 1 year, or negative return in Bombay and Delhi. Domestic private equity funds, and I'm speaking on behalf of all of us on the panel, would have given return which is between 10 to 15%. 10-year mutual fund returns, rolling returns, are between 12 to 14%. So if there is a way to play real estate through professionals which are diversified, why won't one do it? Or REIT. One more data point, and I'm just taking slightly more time because I'm passionate about this, because everybody wants to buy houses and lock in, ghar kharido, band kar do, ghar kharido, band kar do. What's the point of that? Idea is financial asset. Mujhe har mahine paise aane chahiye. I should make a return, risk-adjusted higher return. REIT is the only asset class which takes away the biggest constraint of real estate, which is illiquidity. That is the one biggest challenge. You can sell it on a click of a button. Only asset class where the payouts, which is if it comes in form of dividend, are tax free. Company भी dividend pay करती है तो पूरा tax लगता है. पहले 10 लाख रखा था, अब तो पूरा जो भी maximum marginal rate है. Dividend received from REIT is exempt as a special provision. Same is private equity. So I would urge everyone to probably learn a little bit more. We'll be happy to do more sessions, happy to collaborate. A lot of our money, that private equity fund that we raise, is raised through chartered accountants from their clients.
Perfect, Sharad. Definitely, that's a good idea. So that's the reason I'm saying. And so
Bebauji, I would like to intervene here.
Yeah, Rajkumarji.
Sharadji, we are having a lot of passion, unlimited time and energy. Any sector of industry grows, when professionals, all intermediaries come together and work towards a single goal of the development of the nation, development of all stakeholders. So we'll connect on this. We are all out. And I like this idea, separate program on REIT, understanding each segment. And we will work on this. Dr. Salim, tomorrow itself you get connected, plan the things. God has given us unlimited time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Perfect. So I believe definitely from the stakeholders' perspective, as a chartered accountant fraternity, Rajkumarji has pointed it rightly, and Sharad has also picked it on the right forum, that there are so many people with business interest here in the session who can contribute together and make this session itself a start to gear up in nation building with respect to these real estate or investment opportunities. Puneet, what's your...
Bebo, I'll take a attendance call. Ramkaran, what is the attendance? Okay. Yeah. 390 को हम 3,90,000 करेंगे.
Rajkumar ji, आप जो बोल रहे हैं ना, I just want to like tell one more point. I go and raise money from large HNIs.
Yes.
HNI is investing money in all kind of products.
Yes.
And who goes and advises him? There are wealth managers.
Yes.
Wealth managers who's advising them. He has a chartered accountant who has been with him for decades.
Yes.
That chartered accountant, and I'm a chartered accountant, I actually believe that chartered accountants would understand his balance sheet, his investment need more than probably a wealth manager.
Correct.
But the business of his advising on the investments is left to an external person. That should also, a part of it can be played by a chartered accountant, because chartered accountants would understand the maths, would understand the balance sheet, return profile, risk profile better than anyone who's sitting outside.
Very true. I 100% appreciate. And we will work on this, Saraji. Somehow
Sure,
there was a gap. We will work on this.
Sure, sir.
Sharad, taking forward your view, I remember I was sitting with one of my client, and there is a wealth manager, just 3 or 4 year experience working with an marquee institute. And he was suggesting him where to invest and how to invest. And I said, how much investments you have done? And he said, no, I have not invested even a single penny. So I believe what you are saying from the framework of chartered accountants is very relevant. They know their client better than anyone else. And they have been seeing his investment habits, his possibility of funds, and I believe they can become a bridge and all these kinds of things. Puneet, what's your view about all this? I believe you were a silent spectator, and I believe you have a lot of ideas around it.
So, I mean, first of all, I fully agree with Sharad on the opportunity front. So let us look at, I mean, obviously before I get into the physical investment space, REIT obviously is a large potential. We had 3 very successful REITs in the country. While the individual asset owners basically did face some kind of a challenges of receiving rentals on time because of the complete lockdown, the fact is that these 3 REITs were getting paid at 98 to 99% of the rentals. So effectively, there was a professional professional manager which was actually managing REIT, as well as there's a quality tenants which are available. And we've just seen 3 office REITs per se, largely with some component of our hospitality thrown in. I believe that, if we have roughly 700 odd million square feet of stock in the country, we just seen a tip of the iceberg. There's a fairly large space in the REIT which is available in office. We are yet to see the first warehousing REIT in the country, and then it will be followed by or around the same time on the malls front. So anything which is then generating has the potential to go an upside on the capital side, and that is how internationally the markets have actually evolved. So that is, and it's available at a very low ticket. You could put a few lakhs, 1 or 2 lakhs, and then kind of buy a REIT unit. So effectively, the ticket size itself in a REIT is also very low. You could exit at any point of time. So currently, I feel there have been largely a situation of the self-REIT. So whether it is a Blackstone Embassy owning certain assets, Rera owning certain assets, I think this market will also evolve to a third-party REIT aggregation model, which is again a big opportunity because you would have a more hybrid and more diversified REIT product coming in the market. As ICAI venture, we have always been, we were one of the early ones to, we are a private equity shop set up in 1988. Pretty much all of us, at least on the panel, were in schools. So there's a long history of investing from the PE side, and we were one of the early ones to take a call on the rented office space as well as on the completion of the office buildings and then turning it around to have a potential upside and finally exiting it. So I think that is one opportunity. Completely agree with Sharad. The second part of it is basically investing through the AIF product. They're obviously, Sharad touched upon the 5,500 crores, which is basically managing, but I will just give you a flavor of the large global pool. In 2019, this third-party global professionally managed real estate was 9.6 trillion. In spite of COVID, in 2020, that 9.6 became 10.5 trillion. Right. So, which means there was always a need which was kind of felt by the professional, by the investor to manage and approach the third party for a fund management perspective, and that is where the beauty of the third party asset management is. I'm still bullish on the overall other hardcore assets while I represent a firm which is managing the third party money, whether it is offshore, because we manage both offshore as well as domestic money on the real estate as well. while the paper product is obviously there, but I think a lot of investors would still like to buy the real estate so speculators are out. But someone who's investing for a medium-term perspective, I think that opportunity still remains, whether it is office, which generally I have seen when people buy 2 or 3 homes is the time when they start investing in office for a rental return, or even the residential asset class. I think if we're talking about a cycle moving to it, and if there's a holding capacity for a few years, this is a perfect time to look at even buying the hard asset class.
Thank you, Puneet. Manish, what's your view? Real estate is cyclic, but we always see, people tend to put some penny in real estate. And that's more in tier 2 cities. I still remember my hometown being, and there people like to buy properties in bulk. So it's still that same old habit. What's your view about it? How you recommend?
Yeah. So I'll just give a little background. So India has always been a saving country. Okay. So we always believed either in saving or on physical assets. And post, I would say in last 5 or 7 years, or rather 2012 onwards, the capital market has definitely played a big role in terms of that. So today what we see mutual fund as a big industry, it's a lot of financial assets coming into the play than the physical assets. So that's a fundamental shift which has happened. And if you look at old school of thought, which always said, own your property, own your land, and that's it. And you have the other sets of investments, okay? But the new set of thoughts, and for the new generation and the younger generation, where it is all about democratization. So what just now Sharad stated, REITs is nothing but democratization of these assets. So you can actually hold these financial assets, and it is in such a small ticket that it can be owned by anyone. So that's called democratization. Okay. So that's fundamental shift in the country. We at ASK are the asset and wealth managers. Okay. So we manage wealth almost in tune of roughly about 1 lakh crore, kind of 1,000 crore kind of a thing. So we manage super HNI money, which is wealth. We manage the largest PMS of the country. Okay. And obviously we do real estate private equity, as well as we do fundamentally debt funding. So these are the kind of businesses what we do. When we recommend or when we talk about it, and since nothing but we are fiduciary, we manage somebody else's money and we advise, and this is where what they do. At all points of time, one thing fundamental to this is real estate is an asset class. Okay, it can't, and you can't hold it as one, which used to be almost about 40-50% in those days, has completely become a part of the asset class today. The challenge with this asset class is it's illiquid. So whatever said and done, unless until you have the new financial assets like REITs and the other thing, otherwise it's illiquid asset. So you can't press a button and get your liquidity in place. So as a group or as a house, we always say that there is a, depending upon how your cash flows are, depending upon how your wealth is and how what do you foresee and what's your risk return, there is always a suggestion that what kind of a percentage do you hold on to. Like any other asset class, the entry and exit, you can't time it. And everybody says real estate is a cycle. So is oil, so is commodity, so is sugar, so is everything. So there is no denial of the fact that any asset class will have its own cycle. And Sharad gave the numbers that today, whatever said and done, asset equity has given 10 to 12% return. But if you look at as a real estate post, obviously you're trying to put it last 7-8 years, it's given a positive return, and these are double-digit returns. Okay, so as a group, we are very, very bullish, and we say, please put certain asset class or certain amount of percentage to your real estate. Now, depending upon your risk appetite and the wealth available, whether it is your old asset class, which is physical, or the new set of asset class, which is managed professionally. Okay, so it becomes a very important aspect to it. Like any other thing, when fundamentally as a wealth, we say gold, you should manage about 4 to 5%. Real estate, we say anything between 10 to 15% is what we generally, as a thumb rule, we say that at any point of time, you need to have minimum 10 to 15 or 20%, anything between 10 to 20% as your asset class always being there. Different kind of products. AIF is one set of products, REIT is another set of product, or rent yielding and physical holding is another set of product. But coming back to, definitely it needs to be part of the allocation. And like any other commodity or any other asset player, it will have its cycles, but you need to be present and be there. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Manish. So basically, we have a really good overview about real estate regulatory aspects, funding aspects, the kind of potential in Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities, and then further as an investment product. I just like to take a minute here to introduce myself. So I am also a chartered accountant, CA Vaibhav Jain, and I'm running a firm by the name Sambhav Consultancy, and we are a real estate focused investment banking firm. So having an opportunity that I interact with a lot of developers as well as a lot of lenders and other HNIs and institutions. And I personally, with all my experience, see that real estate will remain going to be a positive investment class with respect to the country like us at least. However, as Sharath pointed, definitely that fragmental ownership or maybe ownership with respect to REIT or units, I believe this is going to be another asset class which will going to pick momentum very soon. However, I do recommend that just like there is Mutual Funds Association of India, which promote mutual funds as in whole, I believe there should be some association among so many private equity lenders or maybe institutions that they can talk about it as an investment class. I would really love to see boards across airports in time to come that REIT sahi hai, or maybe a fragmental ownership going upward and all those things. So I believe we are opening now the forum for some questions. Do we have some questions coming from any of our audience, or maybe any questions from the existing dignitaries on the side?
Ramkaran ji, please एक बार check करके बताइए. Are there any questions that side?
And immediately put in the chat box as soon as the question comes. Ramkaran ji, be alert. अनम्यूट कीजिए रामकरण जी. और डॉक्टर सलीम जी, मैंने कहा था वेब एडमिन कंट्रोल लीजिए.
तो ले लिया मैंने सर, but there are no questions on this side.
हाँ रामकरण जी, कोई क्वेश्चंस हैं? लेकिन मैं ये कहूंगा कि पैनलिस्ट को मैं सैल्यूट करता हूं. उन्होंने इतनी डिटेल में और इतना ज्यादा हमें बताया है पूरे इंडस्ट्री को, बॉटम से लेके टॉप तक क्या इंडस्ट्री में होना चाहिए. एंड आई एम ग्रेटफुल टू शरद जी, पुनीत जी एंड मनीष जी और वैभव. तो वो लॉर्ड कृष्णा के जैसा तीनों को एक हमारे साथ में जोड़ने का काम जो किया है. एंड ऑफ कोर्स अश्विन एंड दिलीप, they have been part of this. There is a question from Rajat Tandon from Delhi. He said real estate give negative return. और मेरा भी एक क्वेश्चन जोड़ देता हूँ. जैसे I am a strong investor in real estate. You know, whatever surplus money, my wife says you put in a real estate so you will not spend it. Otherwise I have a tendency to spend money. तो उसका जो रेंटल इनकम आता है, and if I look into the inflation, and now the real estate is not growing. Earlier it was, you know, साल में समझो 4-5 साल में डबल हो गया, तो फिक्स डिपॉजिट से भी ज्यादा रिटर्न आ जाता था. सो हाउ टू इन्वेस्ट इन रियल एस्टेट. और मैंने एक बार ऐसा भी किया है कि नो, इफ आई वांट टू चेंज द इन्वेस्टमेंट फ्रॉम वन रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट टू अनदर रियल एस्टेट इन्वेस्टमेंट, देन द हैसल ऑफ सेलिंग दैट and buying in another real estate investment. I hope I have made question clear, because when I read Rajat Tandon question about negative returns or very less return on this investment, any of the panelists can answer.
Sharad, maybe you can answer about it. You've already answered, I believe, in your last.
Yeah, I did. I guess Puneet was starting, so maybe Puneet.
Yeah, please. Now.
That's fine. Please go ahead.
Yes, so Rajkumar ji, the way it has to be seen is that real estate returns have to be seen over a long period of time. Over a period of last 35-40 years, and abhi sirf residential ki bare mein baat kar raha hu. Residential properties over a long period of time has given a return of between 12 to 14%. Of that 12 to 14%, 2 to 3% is rental yield. Rest is capital gain. Capital gain can be between 8 to 12% over a long period of time. Now, what has happened is, if you look back only last 5-6 years, then the returns, which is largely the capital gain, is absent, or there is negative return. But if you take it from the cycle which started in 2002, between 2002 and 2012, the capital gain which people would have made will be between 15 to 25%. So those returns are getting averaged out. One. Second, last 6 years, like I mentioned, there are so many policy changes or interventions which has taken place, because of which the sector is going through a I would say transformational thing. So उस period को अगर आप count करेंगे from a return perspective, it will not be good. Third thing, like I mentioned, physical real estate beyond a point is a commodity. It cannot give you abnormal return which people got used to between 2002 and 2012. ये 4-5-3 साल में पैसा डबल होने वाला सर काम वो नहीं हो पाएगा. Real estate, residential real estate is a consumer product. If real estate has to be played, part of it has to be played through non-physical real estate. I really believe that a part of the portfolio has to go through that. Having said that, from a timing perspective, and I would agree with Puneet that from a timing perspective, we are at a decadal low prices. अगर आप देखेंगे 2013 March was the peak property prices in India. 2000 March 13 versus March 22, 9-year period across the 8 cities, the property prices are same. Delhi and Bombay property prices will be lower by 20-25%. And if you add inflation into it, then we are between 2006 to 8 prices. From that perspective, there could be a timing benefit, but the return expectations needs to be brought lower. Sir, returns from a real estate cannot be seen like Jadoo ki chhadi. It has to be seen in the context of what the other asset classes are giving. What is your risk-free return? अगर आपका बैंक में FD 4% मिलता है तो रियल एस्टेट आपको 20% रिटर्न नहीं दे सकता है. अगर आपको म्यूचुअल फंड्स which are supposed, in my mind, equity is the highest risk, highest return also highest risk. अगर वो आपको 10 साल के अच्छे पीरियड में 12 से 14% रिटर्न देते हैं, रियल एस्टेट उतना ही रिटर्न देगा, slightly lower only. So I think there is some bit of expectation. लास्ट 5-6 साल को एक तरह से रीसेट करके देखना पड़ेगा कि वो सही टाइम नहीं है टू बेंचमार्क योर रिटर्न्स. एंड फ्रॉम हियर नेक्स्ट 10 years one should look at both financial and physical real estate with a return expectations of closer to, I would say, 12%.
Any other question, Ramkaran ji or Dr. Zaleen? Yeah.
एक क्वेश्चन दीप अग्रवाल जी का है. Very young investor looking for first time investing in financial assets plan to invest in new age real estate financial products. Maybe he may be meaning, REIT and other products.
Manish, can you throw light on that?
He's from Raipur, Deep Agarwal.
Okay, so I'll just answer that. So what has happened is, like any other regulator, now it is predefined. Okay, in an AIF, you need to have a minimum ticket size. So that means 1 crore is a ticket size what you can do in an AIF. That means if you take a financial product, you need to have a minimum ticket size, and you are expecting that if somebody is investing 1 crore, and this is part of his whole corpus, he is educated enough, he understands the industry and is a well-educated investor. Okay, if you look at when you're looking at REIT, it can be anything. Okay, so that's where the retail distribution comes into the place and retail ticket size comes into the place. The risks are lesser, it is much smaller, and that's why you can do it. What has happened is there's another called PMS. There's another PMS route where it is defined that is a 50 lakh is a ticket size where any of the PMS portfolios can be done. So which is between a high end of the investor and a retail investor. So that's the other side of it. And then comes the InvIT, okay, which is again private InvIT has 2 crores. So the good part is depending upon how naive you are, how intelligent you are in terms of understanding the market, the regulator has predefined that you can't do beyond this particular thing. So these are entry barriers, and these are places which has to be maintained by each of the investors. So this is a very positive mark to the industry. Any new customer or any new customer who intends to play in real estate, my suggestion would be start with REIT. And as you grow your wealth, you can actually move on onto the curve, because these are patient capital. This is an illiquid class, we need to understand. Okay. So it is, you have to be very mindful in terms of, and each has a different rate of return. So each risk returns are very different from what they are.
I hope this answers to the, any other thing, or shall we conclude the session, Rajkumar ji?
I think we conclude the session. There's a Sri Kumar Pillai's question from Mumbai. Disclosures in Rera site may be made more user-friendly. I think we have Rera experts, Aswin, and they can take care, or one of you can answer. I think there are, the reader has to read more. Rera has put so many things, so many documents, A to Z, from buying the land, development agreement, contact details. See, जब तक हम अपने अधिकार एक्सरसाइज नहीं करते हैं, अधिकारों का कोई मीनिंग नहीं है. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया में फंडामेंटल राइट्स, मैंने LLM किया है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में. जब तक फंडामेंटल राइट्स, हमारे राइट्स हम एक्सरसाइज नहीं करते, इसके लिए काम नहीं होता है. So that's what I was requesting Aswin and Dilip. We will be more, as a forum, we want to be more active to see that the regulators, everybody has a responsibility. CVC Act है, लोकपाल है, बहुत कुछ है.
Perfectly right.
Prevention of Corruption Act है, जहाँ हम बोल सकते हैं कि ये तुम्हारी accountability है, तुम public servant हो.
You're perfectly putting it right, Rajkumar ji. Any developer project, if somebody wish and go and see the Rera, they can find almost all information, right from title report to encumbrance on the project, to details of approvals, to details of promoters, and to details of even existing sales which they have done. So if somebody is saying that I've sold so much inventory, you can immediately go and check his Rera site, and maybe to a large extent you can see the quarterly update there. So I believe people need to be educated as a chartered accountants and maybe as Rera experts in making. We have an opportunity to guide all these people to see how they can take benefit from Rera registrations. So great.
I got 1 minute I will add, in one investment, which I was talking about, I went to Rera. Later on, I went to SRA record. SRA record, everything is available. I went to architect certificate. I can go to the, complaint to the Council of Architecture. There are so many things, but one should have a patience, time, and willingness to, invest that time in action. Anand ji ka swagat hai. So a lot can be done, and there are multiple regulators, multiple laws, and therefore there is more money for consultants like us. Because there are many laws, many regulators.
Rajkumar ji, I would just like to add, if you allow me.
Yeah, please, sir.
People are buying flats of 1 crore, 2 crore, 3 crore. But when it comes to pre-consultancy, they are not going for it. And they indulge in very bad situation. Then the developer has upper hand, we know. But now Rera is there, transparency is there. So it is always better to have a pre-consultancy, rather than it is prevention is always better than cure. That's what I say.
Great. So we just had a message from Sharad. I believe we have already taken a good couple of hours on Sunday morning from all the dignitaries. I specifically wants to thank them from the entire forum and from the CA Institute as a whole. Thanks a ton, Sharad, Manish, and Puneet. The session will still be continuing with more discussions about Rera and other topics. But I definitely thanks you for attending and educating us. But for the pause of time, maybe either of you who have to step out can please step out now. Thanks a ton for being here and educating us. Thank you, Sharad.
Thank you, Vaibhav.
Thank you, Manish.
Thank you, Rajkumar.
Thank you so much.
See
It
you.
was a pleasure.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Very good, very good. It's a lucky number, 9 number, 4 plus 3 plus 2. Dr. Salim, what we get an suggestion from CA Ashwin Shah, we will do once a month, 1 hour program, to start with this pre-purchase consultation, because I have been promoting this, that buyer of a real estate paying 20,000 to a consultant or 10,000 to a consultant will give the multiple returns, and it is like an insurance, hassle-free insurance. I myself did not do a pre-consultation and rely on a friend. Don't rely on anyone. I relied on a CFO of a real estate company. So I may be chartered accountant, that person is chartered accountant. So that reliance should not be placed.
Noted, sir.
Yeah, over to Dilip, Vaibhav and our experts.
Sir, I heartily thanks to all the forum for giving us opportunity to conduct this kind of session, and I believe it was learning for everyone. With our fraternity, with the relationships which we had, we are always available. So maybe the way you were suggesting for a read session or something, I definitely feel in real estate, for bodies like us and for chartered accountants, there is a whole gamut of opportunities where they can exercise, they can practice, and they can definitely make money as well. So it's commercially also quite a positive industry for us to deal with. And at the same time, I feel that if we can save money, or maybe, with one of our good advice, if we can make a prudent investment or a decision-making process of a buyer, he will thank us for entirety of his life. So it's a good opportunity for us. Thanks a ton from my side as well, because I'm also in middle of another session. So thank you for giving me an opportunity, and look forward to connect with you on later times. Thank you.
Vaibhav, thank you. And I'm giving you some task. I need your time. There is already a question from Rajat Tandon. What is REIT? So people need to know कि real estate investment trust करके scheme है, real estate infra investment trust scheme है. So we need your time.
Sure, sir.
Connect offline sometime, maybe tomorrow. Dr.
So
Salim,
REITs and InvITs will going to be the future of real estate. We will definitely, as per your suggestion, try to create a forum around that.
Yeah. Please.
Sure, sir. Thank you. Thanks a ton. Thank you, Dilipji, for giving this opportunity. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Vaibhavji. Dilipji, over to you. Or Dr. Salim, if Dilip is traveling, if he is comfortable, he will.
So I'll take it ahead from here, sir. I'll take it ahead. The next speaker we have, CA Ashwin Shah. He's president of Rera Practitioners Welfare Association. Sir, I welcome you on behalf of the entire committee and the chairman, sir, CA Dr. Rajkumar Adukia, Vice Chairman, sir, and Sraj Chuksa. Thanks for giving your time, because right now the concept of me time is too popular. And you professionals who are, I'll use a pun over here, 25 hours in a day, you're busy. Professionals like you all are busy 25 hours in a day. And taking out time on Sunday, it's really an honor that you are here to speak to us, to take this session ahead and, give enlightenment to the fraternity. And, sir, I know you have been throughout the program. So a lot of things are there which I want you to even put across to the forum, which might have been missed out or which might have not been, understood. So please, sir, it's all yours. Please take it ahead from here, sir. We welcome you to the.
Yeah. Thank you. Today morning, I'm audible, na?
Yes, you're audible, sir.
Yeah. So today morning on the panel discussion, we had a very fruitful discussion. Why Rera, how Rera, what Rera, and how there is a transformation, what are the credit obstacle and rate of return, and so on. So today I have to devolve upon the litigation aspect after implementation of Rera. Can I share my screen?
So go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. You can.
Yeah, you are co-host. Please share it. रामकरण जी, जितने भी लोग जुड़ते हैं सबको को-होस्ट बनाइए एंड स्टैंडिंग इंस्ट्रक्शन डॉक्टर सलीम जी, स्टैंडिंग इंस्ट्रक्शन को-होस्ट के लिए.
Yeah. So today we are going to discuss on litigation aspect post implementation of Rera. Now, as mentioned by the chairman today morning, we need more expert on Rera and particularly chartered accountant, because today in Maharashtra itself we have around 3,000 stall projects. Now, unless we convert this stall project to a dream reality, I don't think the flat buyers will go for under construction property, because there is a lot of apprehension among the flat buyers because of this stall project. So while addressing the issue of this stall project, the chartered accountant is one of the most crucial professional along with architect and engineer. Litigation is another story, but particularly for project development, so far as the stall project is concerned, chartered accountant has a very crucial role to play. So I think in time to come, we need to have more Rera expert. And I would suggest, or I would rather tell my professional colleagues that today we are on Rera Foundation Day, that is 1st May. We will have our CA Foundation Day on 1st July. So between this period, we expect more expert to come to expertise, and they become expert in real estate on the CA Foundation Day. This is my call and message to all my professional colleagues. Yeah. Now, before we go to the litigation aspect, let us first understand why there was a need of Rera. Lot has been already been discussed. I will not take time on into that, because initially this sector was not organized sector. Anybody can become developer, anybody can jump into the real estate project, and the real estate is a very core sector so far as Indian economy is concerned, because there is lot of employment. Even it is a very good contributor to the GDP. The one real estate project gives employment to nearly 250 category of person. So we cannot ignore the importance of real estate sector, and that's why there was a need felt in 2013 that there has to be some standardization, uniformity across India, and we need to have a central legislation, and that's how we have the Real Estate Regulation and Development Act 2016. Now, whenever there is some special acts or special legislations are enacted, we need to first understand what is the preamble of the act, because from the preamble we come to know why this act has been enacted. So the first preamble is regulation and promotion of the sector. So it not only talks of regulation but also talks of the promotion. So it gives a balancing role to the authority, state authority, to do a good task on the real estate. Then sale of apartment in an efficient and transparent manner. So this was the need of the hour. Prior to Rera, the sale of the apartment was not transparent. The information was not flowing from the developer to the allottee. They have not been issued allotment letter, just a one-sided booking form and all these things, which contain termination and forfeiture clause, which are always favorable to the developer. So second preamble is sale of the apartment in efficient and transparent manner. Third and the most important is this is a welfare legislation. That is, it is for the protection of the interest of the consumer. And the fourth one is, in order to achieve the three preamble, we need to have a good adjudicating mechanism for speedy dispute resolution, because we know the courts were already busy and it took nearly 4 to 5 years or sometimes 10 years to get justice in civil court or high court or Supreme Court, wherever the matters are dragged. But with the implementation of Rera, now we have a special regulator called Rera Authority, and then we have a Rera Tribunal. These two platforms gives a speedy dispute resolution. Now, how it works? Like, there is an authority. Central legislation is there. There is Central Act. Then we have the state-wise authority, because real estate comes under concurrent lease. So states are given power to implement the rules and to appoint the authority for the implementation. So there is an authority. At Maharashtra also we have authority across all 28 states and union territory. Again, Maharera has the jurisdiction over the Diu Daman and Goa. Diu Daman also union territory. So there is an authority which deals with many issues. And if someone is aggrieved by the decision of the authority, then he can go to the appellate tribunal. Then there is High Court and Supreme Court. So some intermediaries are being avoided, and the attempt is being made to have the speedy dispute resolution at a very low cost. The fees for filing the complaint before authority and tribunal, appeal before the tribunal, is only 5,000 rupees. So it is cost effective and less time consuming. Now let us understand what is the jurisdiction of Rera, right? So now section 79, it says that no civil court shall have jurisdiction on the subject where Rera has the jurisdiction. Now there was a confusion after enactment of Rera whether one can go to any other forum, say for example consumer forum or IBC. Now IBC is also there, or I go to arbitrator, or I go to civil court. So that confusion was there. But Supreme Court in Pioneer Urban have now settled the position. It's very now very clearly it laid down that it is the choice of the person where he want to go. You cannot make a compulsion over that person. But civil court will not have jurisdiction on the subject where Rera, like say for example, I want to claim only interest for delay, or I want to get execution of my agreement. Then Rera has the specific jurisdiction. But if I want to go for criminal action, then I can certainly go to even to the police authority also, because today also MOFA is a valid law. MOFA has not been repealed. So MOFA is a valid law, and I can go to court also. But so far as Consumer Forum and IBC is concerned, if I want to realize my money, if I want return of my money with interest and compensation, I can go to Consumer Forum also. I can go to arbitration also. But the choice is with the flat buyers or the developer, wherever they want to go. You can't say that no, you have to go compulsorily go to the arbitration. There is one adverse judgment by learned chairperson of Maharera recently, where the agreement was entered in MOFA period, and there was one arbitration clause, and the order was passed that since there is an arbitration clause, Rera does not have jurisdiction. And now that matter has been challenged before the tribunal, but it all depends on how you argue the matter, because I feel that Supreme Court judgment on Pioneer Urban, if it would have been mentioned, then such kind of judgment we could avoid it. So it is most important that while dealing with the litigation aspect, we need to understand and study the different evolvement coming from various high courts and Supreme Court. Then section 80 talks about the cognizance of offense. Section 81 talks about the delegation of powers. So Rera authority can delegate its powers to its subordinate officer. So one of the litigation propped up, that is whether a single bench member can decide the complaint or not. That was one of the question. Now the matter has been settled in New Tech Land Promoter, because by way of a delegation, a member can also take the complaint hearing and all this thing. It is not necessary that entire authority should sit together. Today in Maharera, today we have 3 members in Maharera, but it is not necessary that entire authority should sit together. Section 88 is again very important. The provision of this act are in addition and not in derogation of any other law. So as I said, I can go to any forum, Consumer Forum, IBC. Now the allottee are termed as a financial creditor by way of a Supreme Court judgment under IBC law. So I can, a group of allottee, that is 100 or 10% of the allottee of a particular project, they can drag the project to IBC also. They can file a application before NCLT being a financial creditor. Then section 89 again is very clear that provision of this act shall have effect nothing notwithstanding anything contained in any other law. So again, there are some overlapping, but this being a special legislation, if suppose MOFA contains certain provisions which are not consistent with the RERA, then RERA will prevail. So whenever in any agreement, if some inconsistency is found, though it is agreed upon by both the parties, but that will not prevail. So we have one model agreement wherein it is clearly mentioned that you can change the terms of the agreement subject to remaining in four corner of the law. So I cannot say that I will form the society after completion of project. That has to be done once I trigger 51% of the booking of the apartment. So then the RERA will prevail. Again, section 29 subsection 4, the one of the preamble says that speedy dispute resolution. So any matter arising before RERA has to be disposed of within 60 days, or if it cannot be disposed of, then certainly reasons can be recorded and things can go ahead. But today, because of outbreak of COVID, 2 years almost, the government offices were working with 50% capacity, and there has been lot of piling up of the complaints, and there is a delay today. Even we are handling some of the matter which were filed in 2019, still they are before the authority, or even in appeal also the situation is same. Then we have section 44.5. There also appeals, once it is filed before tribunal, should be disposed of within 60 days, or by recording reason they can extend it. So the spirit is very clear that there has to be a speedy dispute resolution. Otherwise, there is no meaning in bringing RERA into picture. So the spirit is very clear, but somehow because of certain conditions or certain force majeure conditions like COVID and all these things, there is certainly a delay. But now now we have in Mumbai Tribunal, we have 4 members. So now 2 benches are sitting at a time, because in tribunal we should have a 2-member bench, 1 judicial, 1 technical. So now they are taking up regularly matter, but still that pace of disposal is slow. Then section 44.2 talks about the condonation in filing the appeal. Now appeal has to be filed within 60 days of communication of the order. Now these orders are communicated to the complainant and respondent by way of an email communication. So if there is some delay, then discretion is given to tribunal, subject to reasonability. They can provide the they can delay, they can condone the delay. Now here it is important to note that there is one suo motu writ petition number 3 of Supreme Court regarding the COVID outbreak and the extension of the limitation period in all the judicial matter or proceeding. So there, from March 20 till February 22, if your limitation period falls within this period, then you have liberty to file your appeal or first appeal or second appeal within 90 days from this February, that is 20th February 22. So 31st May, if someone has missed the bus, they can still file the appeal before 31st May 2022, provided your limitation got expired during this period, that is March 22 February 22. If it goes beyond that, then now they are very strict, they are not allowing the condonation. Yeah. Now when the RERA came in 2016, at the same point of time IBC also came, but I would say IBC has more clear picture than RERA in terms of disposal of matter. Say for example, under section 62 subsection 2 of IBC, the condonation in filing appeal before the Supreme Court or NCLT, they give only maximum 15 days. They don't allow more than that. Whereas in RERA tribunal, we can justify our delay, and sometimes the delay of 100 day or 200 day is also being allowed, subject to case specific facts matrix. But in IBC, it is very clear, you will not be allowed more than 15 days. And then section 63 says civil court will not have any jurisdiction. Now, with IBC, once the application is admitted, then there is one section 14 whereby the moratorium is imposed. As soon as the moratorium is imposed, the all other proceedings or even no new proceeding can be initiated. So even in Rera also, it has happened. Okay, the matter was filed prior to application being admitted. But during the course of hearing, if someone brought to the information of the Rera authority that there is a IBC proceeding, then the complaints are disposed of with a liberty to reapproach once the IBC is over. But during this moratorium, nothing can happen. Subject to then after even for NCLT also, now there are time specific guidelines. They say that it has to be disposed of within the time permitted under the IBC code, subject to maximum of further 10 days extension. So this is also a welcome legislation which is missing in Rera. We should have such kind of legislation in Rera also, because sometimes we file some application and say for example application for registration of project, there 30 days time limit is given. If it is not granted within 30 days, it's a deem approval. But so far as application under section 14, that is for change in plan, or application for extension of the project under section 7 or under section 6, then no time is specified. So again, many people have grievances that a lot of time is being taken by the authority. So such kind of specific guidelines should be given under Rera. Now we will deal with some of the settled issue first, and then I will deal with the unsettled issue. Correct. Now today chairman in the morning session made a remark that Rera book has only 220 pages. There are only 92 sections. So initially when Rera was enacted, even I felt it is very easy to specialize with 92 sections, because rules comes out of the section only. So once I have a grip over the section, then rules is not a bigger issue. So we felt 92 section, nothing great about it. One can definitely go and specialize it. But in this last 5 years of Rera evolvement, there are n number of judicial pronouncements by tribunal, various tribunal, High Court, Supreme Court, say that this number of pages, if I count, if I put together all this judicial pronouncement, then it will go above 5,000. Only Nilkamal Realtor judgment, which I will discuss, has 330 pages. That is bigger than that book. Only one judgment, right? So now we will see what happened when Rera was brought on 1st May 2017. It came into being from 1st May 16, but the practical section like registration and compliance all were started from 1st May 2017. So there were a lot of confusion, there were a lot of grievances among the developer. Why these ongoing projects are brought into the net of the Rera. N number of litigation were filed, writ petition were filed across India before many high courts, challenging the constitutional validity of Rera on the ongoing project. What developer were asking were, it should apply to the new project, not to the old project, because there is some agreed terms of contract with the buyer under the old state law like MOFA, GOFA or Uttar Pradesh real estate law. So then why a new law should be imposed on the old concluded terms of contract? So this was the issue before various high court in many writ petition. Then Supreme Court consolidated all this writ petition, and the task was handed over to the Honorable Mumbai High Court under Nilkamal Realtor versus Union of India. This judgment was given by 2-member bench, Justice Ketkar and Justice Naresh Patil, and there was amicus curiae also to help the court in this, and lot of issues were discussed in this judgment. I would rather say that if somebody want to start how to make a specialization in real estate, then I would recommend 2 judgments, namely Nilkamal Realtor, and one recently is given by Supreme Court in New Tech Land Promoter. So these are the two judgments to start with. There are many more judgments, but at least these two judgments will give the idea of the evolvement of the judiciary on Rera on various legal issues during these 5 years. Now, the first question was whether Rera is retrospective or retroactive. Now, these two terminology, there is very thin line of difference between what is retrospective and what is retroactive. The Honorable Mumbai High Court has held that no, Rera is not a retrospective, but rather it is a retroactive. Again, in retroactive, there are two kind of retroactive. One is true retroactivity, that is, new law is imposed on the completed transaction. And one is quasi-retroactive, that is, new law is implemented on a transaction which is in process but was entered into prior to Rera coming into force. So then the Honorable Mumbai High Court held that this is quasi-retroactive, that is, it applies to the transaction in process. Only thing is that cause of action should be there to deal with. So then Rera is a retroactive legislation, and even the agreement which are entered into prior to MOFA, the Rera will apply. Rera has the jurisdiction over those transactions, and Mumbai High Court has upheld that the constitutional validity of Rera is there on the ongoing project also, because when this ongoing project is nowhere defined under the Act. What Section 3 says is that those projects which have not received completion certificate as of 1st May 2017 will have to get registered, but they have not defined ongoing project. If I go to the dictionary meaning of ongoing project, I can find that ongoing project means project which are going on. This is the simple terminology for ongoing project. So there were a lot of UN cry among the developer community that Rera should not apply to the ongoing project, and challenge was made on the constitutional validity of Rera on the ongoing project, which has been upheld by the Honorable Mumbai High Court. Then Section 18, again, whether relief under Section 18 can be claimed by the allottee post Rera, though the agreement was entered in MOFA. So under MOFA agreement or under MOFA law, there was only one option available to the allottee, that is exit. You can't claim interest for delay. Only one option was available. Either you remain with the project, irrespective of whether how much delay is there, or you quit the project and take your money with interest and compensation, whatever is there. So now under Rera, under Section 18, we have two options. One is either you quit the project, or you can decide not to quit the project, but claim interest for delayed on possession because of the default of the promoter. So again, Honorable Mumbai High Court held that Section 18 relief will be available to the allottee even after Rera implementation, though the agreement was entered into prior to Rera. And Bombay High Court has held that what is interest? Interest is nothing but a compensation in nature. It is a compensatory in nature. So the allottee should be compensated with the interest element, whether for delayed interest or whether for refund of money. Now, there was one question whether a complaint can be filed for unregistered project or not, because if I look at the Maharera website, we have entire mechanism whereby if the complaint has to be filed, I need to have the project registration number. So if I do not have project registration number, I cannot file a complaint. So then how to address this issue? So then the matter was discussed in this writ petition. So Honorable Mumbai High Court said that yes, there are enough provision under Rera, though the complaint can be filed against registered project only, but authority can entertain information on unregistered project, decide whether this project is registrable or not. If it is registrable, first give direction for registration and then entertain the complaint. So now we have one window, one tab on the Maharera website, that is unregistered project. So there I can give information. This information can be given by anybody. He need not be a stake, he need not have the stake in the project. So that information I can give. If I want opportunity of hearing, then I have to pay some fees. If I don't want opportunity of hearing, then I am just giving information. Then Rera will take up the issue. Then one more question was raised before Honorable Mumbai High Court that look, Section 6 talks about the extension of the project only for 1 year, and that too under force majeure, right? Now force majeure is nowhere defined except under Section 6, and it says that it's an act of God, war, earthquake, and so on. Even this COVID outbreak, whether it's a force majeure or not, because COVID is a man-made calamity. It is not a natural calamity. So again, there are issues whether COVID can be termed as a force majeure or not. So far, we have not got any judicial pronouncement on this, because many complaints, many developers are now taking the shelter of COVID period of 2 years for taking relief that the extension, that the timeline which they have given to the allottee in agreement for sale should get automatically extended by this 2 year. But all these matters will come up now. So then the question was, Rera Act only provides 1 year extension, and that too also in force majeure condition. So if developer does not have any force majeure condition and he wants further time, then what to do? Because see, after 2016, many things happened. Like Rera came into picture, then there was a demonetization, then GST also came. So there were a lot of contractual difficulty when the GST was imposed because of rate change and all these things. So commerciality is also affected. Even demonetization also hampered the flow of currencies, flow of the money from one pocket to another. So a lot of things have happened. So developer wanted Bombay High Court to dwell upon this. Okay, this Section 6 is very harsh. Then Honorable Mumbai High Court say no. You have one more option under Section 7 subsection 3. There is an option available to the authority that if the promoter is not able to complete the project within the revised timeline. What is this revised timeline? That when I was given chance to register the ongoing project, I have to give my revised timeline. Though my time given to the allottee under agreement may be different, but I was given chance to give the revised timeline. Say for example, it is 31st March 2020, and my agreement for sale mentions that my timeline is 31st March 2018. So far as my obligation towards allottee is concerned, I will be bound by 31st March 2018 and not 31st March by March 2020. But so far as the violation of the Rera Act is concerned, liberty will be given till 31st March 2020. So once I cross this 2020, then I have under Section 6 only 1 year extension, that too proving the force majeure. It is not simply that you will get the extension. Though in initial period of 5 years, Rera has given the extension without even looking into the force majeure factor. But now they are scrutinizing the application in detail, because now we have learned chairperson Sri Ajay Mehta, who had been a former municipal commissioner. So there has been many more compliances are imposed. So until all these compliances are cleared, they will not get the extension. So now it is very difficult to file a extension application. But if there are sufficient and reasonable cause, they give the extension, but only 1 year. So beyond 1 year, the question remains what to do. Then under Section 7 subsection 3, authority has power that once the project timeline is over, even after Section 6, then it automatically becomes a lapse project. So once the project is lapsed, then Section 8 triggers. Then they have to take a call how to complete this project. That is the prerogative of the authority. But to avoid all these things, what authority can do is, under Section 7 subsection 3, they can ask the developer to bring the consent, 51% consent of the allottee, that we want to continue with this developer for further 3 years, 2 years, whatever time they want to give. Then the extension is granted even for 5 years, 3 years, whatever is the decision of the association of the allottee. So this again, the challenge to section 6 was also overruled, and we had a relief under section 7 subsection 3. Now again, developer were concerned about okay, once the project is lapsed, I am not getting the consent, then under section 8 my project will be taken over by somebody else, either by association of allottee or by other developer, as may be decided by Rera. So then what will happen to the amount of investment what I have made into the project? It happens okay, there are his own equity, his own debt, and allottee fund, and so on. So there is some commercial element. The developer were concerned about that. Then the Honorable Mumbai High Court clarified that your right would be protected subject to the completion of the project, because first the project should be completed, and then if anything remains, certainly your rights will get protected. So section 8 is not harsh. Okay, there is a change of hand once the project is lapsed, right? Yeah, then in tribunal, initially, there was only a single bench member. Initially, the tribunal, even Mumbai tribunal was not established. So the task was given to the MRT, Maharashtra Revenue Tribunal, having only one member. And then when the officially tribunal was established, there also there were 3 members, but they were taking the hearing on single bench. So then some challenge was made in Mumbai High Court, not in Nilkamal Realtor, thereafter. And then it was, because section 44 is very clear that bench of tribunal should consist of 2 members, 1 judicial, 1 technical. So all the order passed by the single bench member, if challenge, will not have any effect. So there are many appeals which second appeals were filed before High Court challenging the order passed by the single member, and then again the matter were remanded back to the tribunal for re-hearing and all this. And then the developer were concerned whether these penalty provisions are retrospective or prospective. So the Honorable Mumbai High Court clearly upheld that penalty provisions are prospective, that is after 1st May 2017. If you make any default after 1st May 2017, then there is a issue. If you divert the fund after 1st May 2017, then there is a issue. If you have diverted fund prior to that, then you can make up that diversion at early. But if you do any diversion after 1st May, if you do not execute agreement after, even after taking 10% of the fund, then there is a default and you will be penalized. Then one interesting point was noted by Honorable Mumbai High Court is that the developer is given liberty to frustrate the agreement if they are not able to complete the project. Now, surprisingly, the lawmaker have not thought of the situation of deregistration of the project. There is a section for registration, there is a section for extension, but there is no section for deregistration. If I want to abandon my project, if I want to deregister my project, now what has happened in many areas, like say for example Matunga, in one practical example in Matunga also, the booking was done in 2010 at a very low price, and then the price has increased, and now the allottee are claiming, and the project is at middle way, 50% is only completed. So the allottee are asking, they want to remain in the project because there is a handsome capital gain, plus they want to ask the interest for delay in possession. So these 2 items will give them a very good return. But then the Honorable Mumbai High Court has observed in Nilkamal Realtor that developer can frustrate the agreement if he feels that he is not able to complete the project. So in case of frustration, he can terminate the agreement, subject to he has to refund the principal with interest. So again, many developers are now trying to take the benefit of this observation of Honorable Mumbai High Court, and many complaints are cross complaints are filed by the builder if they want to frustrate the agreement. As soon as the allottee filed the complaint for interest for delay, they will file a cross complaint for frustration of the agreement. So this was all about Nilkamal Realtor, where we have around 288 paras and 330-page judgment. Jurisdiction of AO and authority. Now, Rera, in Rera provision, we have section 71 and 72. Now, authority means members of the authority, and AO means adjudicating officer. Now, who can be adjudicating officer? Only judicial mindset, that is retired judge. So AO are there for the purpose of section 71 and 72, only for the purpose of adjudicating compensation, right? So initially, a lot of judgment have been passed by authorities. See what happens if somebody files a complaint with multiple relief. Say for example, he want a refund of money, he want interest also, he want compensation also for mental agony or whatever loss he has caused. So in such scenario, what authority used to do is they used to pass on this to the AO because it contains the claim of compensation. So once the matter goes to the AO, then AO has passed many orders prior to New Tech land promoter, and these orders were even executed. Some recovery warrants were also issued. Some matters were challenged before the appeal in tribunal also. So thereafter, this matter was also discussed by Punjab and Haryana High Court, and Punjab and Haryana High Court has very clearly established that no, the role of AO is confined only for the purpose of adjudicating compensation under section 71 and 72. What does that mean? That the violation has to be decided by authority. So first the complaint will go to the authority. Authority will decide whether there is a violation or not. And if there is a violation, then they will decide about the refund of principal and interest. And for compensation, the matter can be transferred to AO. This is what Punjab and Haryana High Court decided. In Maharera also, the ex-learned chairperson in one of the case, Pankaj Agrawal, have passed order, and we all were taken to surprise because when this judgment was passed, even the Punjab and Haryana High Court was not there. So we all were taken by surprise. How can this happen? Because adjudicating officer is of a judicial mind. He is from judicial background, and he should be allowed to deal with the cases of refund of interest, principal, and compensation. But then the learned chairperson gave the order that AO does not have jurisdiction, and as an authority, he has given the decision that there is no violation and hence no relief can be granted. So this matter was challenged before appellate tribunal, Mumbai, and on 31st August 2020, the two-member bench gave the order and they upheld the decision of the learned chairperson. And again, we were all taken by surprise how that can happen. And n number of queries were raised. Then came Honorable High Court Punjab and Haryana, which settled the position that AO does not have power to give refund and interest. Violation is to be decided by authority, only compensation, because compensation they require some special skill. So compensation can be dealt by AO only. So then again, the Punjab and Haryana High Court was also challenged before the Supreme Court. So we were all waiting for Supreme Court to deal upon the Punjab and Haryana in Janta Land Promoter. The case law was Janta Land Promoter. But suddenly on 21st November 2021, we all got the order of Supreme Court in New Tech Land Promoter versus State of UP and others. So here the three-member bench gave the judgment. So here they settled almost many issues. There were 5 issues raised. One of the issue was jurisdiction of AO and authority. So here Supreme Court very clearly mentioned that, see, authority is an administrative authority or a quasi-judicial authority. While deciding whether there is a violation or not, it is not a difficult task. What you have to look upon it is whether the date mentioned in agreement for sale is passed or not, And the interest is again mathematical interest formula is there, SBI MCLR plus 2%, and the delay whatever. So this is not a complicated task, and this can be done by the authority, and authority will decide the violation. Whereas AO job is much complicated to decide the compensation, because to decide the compensation he has to take into consideration some 4 factors are given under section 72. 1 minute. So the task of AO is much difficult, and being a judicial mindset, the adjudication of the compensation should be done by the AO only. They have no right to decide the violation. This is what Supreme Court held in Newtek Land Promoter. And again, in this judgment, retroactive nature and all that has been confirmed. And again, the issue of single bench member was also decided in Newtek also, where it has been held the single bench of the authority by virtue of delegation under section 81 can be done. Now, there is one pre-deposit under section 43(5) when appeal is to be filed before the tribunal. Now here, when the appeal is filed by the developer, then section 43(5) is triggered, that you have to have some pre-deposit. Now, what is this pre-deposit? There are 2 phrases. One is 30% of the penalty or more amount, 30% or more of the penalty, and amount of principal with interest and compensation as may be directed by the Rera authority by their order. So there was a confusion initially whether 30 or higher percent. If it comes to penalty, then the facts were clear. Tribunal has discretionary power to raise the money from 30% to higher amount, including up to 100%. But what about the refund of principal with interest and compensation, or only for delayed for interest? So initially, all appellate tribunal were also exercising the discretionary power of 30% or higher amount. So sometimes they give 40%, 50%, 60%, and like on and so, depending upon the merit of the case, 30 to 60% were pronounced. Okay, this has to be deposited, otherwise appeal will not be entertained. The appeal is filed, but appeal will not be entertained for the purpose of hearing. Now here, one more challenge was made by the developer under section 43(5), even before Nilkamal and also in Newtek. Look, this is a discretionary treatment, because if the allottee file the complaint appeal, then suppose allottee has defaulted in making a payment of installment, and during the complaint process which is filed by the promoter, there is a favorable judgment in favor of the promoter. Okay, allottee has to pay the money with interest. Now, if the allottee file the appeal before the tribunal, then condition of 43(5) is not applicable. So this is a discriminatory treatment. That's what developer have argued before the Supreme Court in Newtek as well as Nilkamal Realtor. But in both the place, they said no, Rera is a welfare legislation. This is a special legislation, and one of the preamble is that to protect the interest of the consumer. So there is no discrimination under Constitution of India, and the provision of section 43(5) are constitutional and valid. Now the question is whether for refund of principal with interest, whether it is straight away 100%, because this percentage are for the penalty 30% or higher. So then one judgment came even before the Newtek, that is Allahabad High Court have given judgment in Redicon Infra versus Karan Dayani, where Allahabad High Court have taken a view that so far as refund of principal and interest is concerned, 100% has to be deposited. So again, this was a landmark judgment, and that is confirmed by now Newtek Land Promoter. Then one more issue came up before the Newtek Land Promoter is section 40 subsection 1 deals with recovery, how to recover the money once the order is passed. So there it is said that if you read the section, it says for recovery of interest or compensation, authority can issue the recovery warrant, and then the recovery warrant will be executed by the collector. So then the challenge was made that this does not talk about the principal amount. So whether recovery warrant can be issued for principal amount or only for the interest or compensation. So again, Newtek in Supreme Court in Newtek made it very clear that this includes principal amount, because in one of the judgment before Mumbai High Court, Marvel Sigma, Mumbai High Court have elaborated the word compensation. It says compensation will include refund of principal, interest and compensation for the purpose of section 40 subsection 1. So the same view was taken by the Supreme Court in Newtek Land Promoter. So now that matter is also settled. So all these matters are settled. Now Allotee is a financial creditor under IBC, and the allotment letter, whether allotment letter or in the absence of agreement for sale,
Ashwin sir, I'll just draw your attention. We should be moving to the other speaker also. So in a nutshell, if you could just try to wind up, because
sure.
we are constrained on time. I'm really sorry to interrupt you, sir.
No.
Really wholeheartedly sorry for that, sir.
I'll just
but a small request, sir, because they also have their other schedule ahead, and especially this was my question, which I was supposed to come from end, because I read in yesterday's newspaper in Times of India, which talked about recovery of 3 crore rupees, and the order was from the Rera. And where the order categorically stated that, if the recovery is not being made, then the properties owned by the particular developer should be attached, auctioned, and the concerned party should be paid. So very nicely you put forward it, and that was there in my mind. And when you talked about it, so I was also hearing, well, I'll put 2 more minutes, because this is of our area of interest.
Because
so just a couple of minutes, if you can wind it up.
Mr. Salim, if I have to dwell upon the judicial pronouncement, I will require at least 2.5 hours.
Exactly, and we'll have a session on that, so I'll connect to you on that. I will definitely connect to you on that.
So now on allotment letter, in the absence of agreement for sale, it is now settled that even allotment letter itself is an agreement. It talks about various terminology which we find in agreement for sale also. So these were all settled issue. Now let us come to unsettled. I will just quickly go through it in 10 minutes. I will not. The burning issue is whether society is a promoter or not, because we have Mumbai High Court judgment before Rera under Vaidehi Akash, which says that society is not promoter because they are passive, they are not selling. And if I look at the definition of promoter, it says for the purpose of selling. But now this current learned chairperson has the view that society is a promoter, society cannot terminate the agreement of the old developer without informing Rera. Society should be brought as a promoter. That's what is the practice recently followed. Now, whether allotee includes only flat purchaser who has given the money or a tenant or old member, again, this is a burning issue. But just to conclude it, that as of today, there are no favorable decision that allotee includes tenant and member. So only those flat purchasers who have paid the money will be taken as a allotee. They will get the relief. But in consumer forum, even the tenant also get relief, because it says that surrender of tenancy right itself is a money consideration, right? IBC and Rera I will not discuss today. Allotee interest versus secured creditor. Again, there are a mix of judgment whether secured creditor will have right over the project or the allotee, because now allotee himself is a financial creditor. So that itself is a very big area. Now, registration of project. This is important. Land area or number of apartment. If my land area is less than 500 square meter and my number of apartment are say 12, today condition is 500 or 8 apartment. So whether I should register or not. If I have 12 apartment and say 400 square meter, so the majority will say yes, it has to be registered. But my view is that it need not register, because there is one word or in between, and it comes in a negative list in exemption. So this matter came up before the tribunal, and interestingly, initially 2 members was there. So both the members have divergent view. One member said no, it is registrable. Other say not registrable. Then the matter was referred before the full bench, and the learned chairperson of the tribunal hold the view that not registrable. Now the matter is pending before Mumbai High Court, and it is still there. So let us see what happens. But as of today, not required to be registered. Rera and arbitration I have already discussed. Industrial premises development, again, there are the matter is pending before Honorable Tribunal, whether for development of industrial premises Rera is applicable or not. They have given an interim order for pre-deposit. No pre-deposit is required, but on merit things are pending. Now, why this has happened? When the bill was introduced in 2013, the word industrial was there in definition of apartment, but now that word is missing. So we need some definite thing. Unregistered project, I believe Rera applies to all the project, whether it's a registered, unregistered, exempted. You are just exempted from registration, but it does not mean you are exempted or you are out of the operation of the Rera law. So I believe even for unregistered project, if it is registrable, then because what Rera require is approval. If there is no approval, no registration can be granted. This is very simple, but no marketing also can be done. So with this, friends, I'll conclude. Sorry for my taking more time. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I thank you on behalf of the entire committee and our chairman, sir, CA Dr. Rajkumar Adukia Saab. Here we have got Anand Gupta Saab. Saab, namaskar.
नमस्कार.
आप काफी टाइम से इधर है, आप पूरा सेशन सुन रहे हैं, so I'm sure you're prepared, for a lot of insight that will come from your end. I just have a very small introduction about you. Anand Gupta Saab is chairperson, Housing and Rera Committee of Builders Association of India. So I'm sure you would be able to put a lot of insight from the builders' point of view, because a lot of things talk about the consumers, a lot of things talked about the investors, and a few parameters were discussed about developers and builders also. So your insight can help us out with what is the mindset of developers, what is the mindset of builders, how you can suggest to our chairman sir and the entire committee to take certain issues with the respective regulator, so that a representation could be given to them to accommodate the views of the builders and developers, as well as of the investors and the final consumers or the property purchasers. So all to you, Anand Saab.
Thank you. Thank you, friends. See, I think most of the thing on this auspicious day of Rera Day, I call it, has already been talked. So I won't repeat it. And even the time probably it doesn't demand that I should repeat all the things which my other colleague speakers have already spoken. But I will definitely say one thing from the association side, that Rera, in the last 5 years, our experience has definitely proved to be a very good watchdog and game changer to improve the image and the functioning of this industry. So definitely on that, so there are a lot of issues which troubles my colleague developers, but still, I will say in a long run, to improve the image, which this industry has been facing very big problem, even the discipline of the financials and the concern of the all the financial institutions, consumers, all have been practically addressed, particularly as there is a regular watch. Regularly, they have to take a certification from the chartered accountant, architects, structural consultant, and even they have to open a escrow account. All these factors have definitely disciplined the industry long way. But more, as I said, the other aspect of the good thing about the Rera, my other colleagues have already talked. What are the sections and what are the interest penalties, and if there is a delay, what can happen? Probably by now everybody has out. I just would like to point out, in spite of Rera doing good work, in spite of they are keeping a very good watchdog and improving the image, confidence of the occasion, but still there are few aspects, particularly in case those are improved, probably Rera can serve a much better purpose than what it is existing today. Now, few of the things which I would like to do, and I will call them as a pitfall in the Rera, which in case we all put together, all Chartered Accountant Association, all Builders Association, all Advocates Association, if they pinpoint to them, probably things can be much better. Now, one of the things which I have always observed, that this approving authority, see, no banker is, whenever I'm talking to the banker, what they say, I really don't understand. So one project in the same city is getting approved and another project is not getting approved. So they are not confident to even though to the finance them. So this, unless this approving authority are also made some answerable to Rera, probably the very purpose for which the Rera is being made is not serving the purpose. Because, say, I will just give you a live example. Now, in one of my projects, the project was to be made 17-story building in South Mumbai, and they gave, and some portion of the land was to be handed over to Bombay Municipal Corporation for expansion of the road. Now, I am willing because I have got no option, and I am getting all FSI potential everything. But now they have restricted my CC up to 14th floor, saying 16 and a half and 17th floor will be given once this all documentation, everything is done. Now, who has to do this documentation? They have to do the documentation. Tomorrow, I sell the flat, and I got now registered the Rera project. And I reach up to 14th floor, and still if they don't complete, the sufferer are customer and the myself, not the corporation or the state government. So this kind of, and Rera even cannot help it. Rera even cannot call them. So this is a very peculiar situation. Similarly, buildings get completed, and for some reason, if the OC is not given, law says we cannot hand over the possession. If we do not hand over the possession, subject to penalty, interest, so many things. But nobody is questioning this approving authority. Why he is not giving the OC? Even the Rera authority cannot call them to their office or make them answerable. So these things have to be really sorted out. Now there is a one big thing, as rightly said by my other colleague, stalled project. See, right now, customer is having some hitch in his heart that if I book a flat and tomorrow this developer, for whatever reason, his personal reason, financial reason, get stalled. So this there has to be a full-fledged machinery with the Rera authority that they will complete the project. In case person A fails, then the person B they will employ, and in particular time they will employ, and they will get the work completed, so that the confidence of all the consumer and the confidence of all the financial institutions which are financing them as a home loan, which are financing them as a project loan, is restored. In case the project is plus, they can remaining money they can send give it to the present developer. In case it is minus, even there has to be provision that they can recover from that person, or in case it is not recoverable, they have to collect from the allottees. Otherwise, see, projects are getting stalled and nobody is confident, neither the financial institutions, neither the customer. This is a very bad state of affairs. Now, there are few other issues. Now, particular developer, his account get NP for whatever reason. He has got 4 projects and he failed in some particular project. Now, there is no clarity from the banking system whether all account will get NPA or that escrow account will not be touched. Right now, there is no clarity by all these nationalized bank and the private bank, and that is creating a lot of problem, because unless this person must be confident that this project which I have booked, and in case the account is, I am supervising, the 70% is only spent on that, he should be confident that whatever may happen, whether the developer may fail on other project or his other account may get anything, but not this account. And that has to be sorted out. Now, a few of our colleagues are complaining that there is a very poor enforcement of any order. Yes, this situation also required to be improved, because unless the people are having a confidence in that order, unless the people are having how they will believe that the registered Rera project is to be booked without any fear. Government has to create a situation where, whether it is banking, whether it is a approval system, or whether a stall project, they have to have, Rera has to take a responsibility of completing it, whatever way it is. Right now, they are also acting another government body that the passing order, but after that, what happens? Nobody knows about it. That situation has to be correct. Now, even right now, probably all people have talked about Maharera, and they have got a Maharera as compared to other Reras are reasonably quite disciplined. But I will tell you, few of the Reras are not having even their contact number. They are not available online. They don't have system of online registration. They don't have system of online complaint. So those Rera authorities in the different part of the countries have to improve their system. There are a lot of ambiguity from one state to another state. The things have to be little, they have to frame the rule in line with the act. And in some of the states, particularly Karnataka, the Tamil Nadu, and Gujarat, they have made some of the rule which is contrary to that. So whenever it matter goes further, it is not getting clear the test of the law. So if these are the pitfalls which I feel if we removed, probably Rera can be a lifeline for all the customer, consumer, and even for the developer, and the image of the industry, image of the real estate, and people's confidence in any real estate project will be much more. Now I would like to just say that yes, this act has also created opportunities for various people. Particularly if you just see for all the chartered accountants, all the architects, all the project engineers, it is a great opportunity for them. They are required to give certification and compliance on every quarterly. So it is also an opportunity for them. See, this has also the opportunity for all the financial institutions that in case the project is having all approval and the Rera registered, probably there is a great opportunity for them to finance that particular project and do their business in a more fair. This has also improved the image of the whole industry. So it has definitely facilitated the hope for housing for all. I feel in case Rera, as I pointed out, deficiencies, those are improved. Probably things can be much better, and the real purpose for which these 5 years Rera has completed will be more better. I once again wish Rera and Rera authorities all the best, and I feel they are doing good job. And if they continue to do those, then they will be serving a real great service to the real estate industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Anandji. I think you have touched upon many issues which are required. The uniformity in, I have seen many websites of different states of Rera. And suppose if there is a complaint against, and there is a provision in Rera Act about investigation. Now, I don't think any of the Rera authorities have investigated promoters' business details. Similarly, they have a power to search. So all this will happen if we become very aggressive. Or in all my appeals, wherever I feel the promoter has done wrong, I put one of the prayer of the investigation of the affairs of the promoter. With due respect to that, promoters are very good. It is, Anandji, you are one of the promoters. So I'm not saying the promoters are bad, but one black ships, like in a CA profession also, that, spoils the whole environment. Ramkaranji has done a superb service today. Thank you to you. हाँ, बहुत अच्छा फिगर है, 520 बहुत अच्छा फिगर है. वो 10 बजे से सुन रहे हैं, 1:07. नो मोर क्वेरी, रामकरण जी. एंड सलीम जी, मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, जिन लोगों ने क्वेरी पूछी है, ईमेल आईडी दिए हैं, और प्लस रामकरण जी से बात करके सबके ईमेल आईडी और कॉन्टैक्ट डिटेल रजिस्ट्रेशन में हम ये सब लेना चाहेंगे.
यस सर.
So with this, I thank Anand ji, Ashwin ji, Dilip ji, who has put all the effort to do. And many states, Ashwin bhai, आपसे ये request है, सारे 28 states में. See, today we have done a webinar. So the whole May month, we can do a Rera day.
Correct.
या May and June. So महाराष्ट्र में एक Rera day हमको करना चाहिए webinar. गुजरात में, गोवा में, राजस्थान में, छत्तीसगढ़ में. So Dilip ji, please take the leadership. Ashwin bhai, take the leadership. We need many volunteers. जो 503 लोग 520 पीपल रामकरण जी जो हैं उनको मैं ये रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा हूं, आप जिस राज्य में हैं प्लीज राइट टू अस एंड टेक वॉलंटियरिंग टू do a webinar where we can discuss, state specific issues. We will invite also the Rera authorities of that state. That will benefit all of us. Asim bhai, आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे? Otherwise, we will conclude.
Now, except Gujarat, there were some cases where forensic audit was done. So there some investigation order were passed. But except that, I feel no Rera authority, in spite of request, even I have also made some requests before Maharera, but in spite of request, the forensics are not done.
असीम भाई, जो मैं एक ओजोन के ग्रुप का है, मैं कर्नाटका रेरा में देखा, उनके अगेंस्ट में more than 100 complaints है. I did not want to take name of any promoter, but then Rera authority on its own, if the number of complaints are more, they should see कि if the number of complaints are more, there must be something wrong.
In fact, there is no cohesion or coordination amongst various state Rera. Say, for example, if one developer is put behind bar in some other state and he is also registered a project in Maharera, then certainly that should be monitored very specifically in the interest of quality. So this
that we will take up in MOA. And recently, Asim bhai, what we were talking, that Rera group, earlier we were talking in one of the Rera study circle, there were 2 meetings held. Recently, third meeting was held because one Mr. Somani from Kolkata, he is representing that. So there also ICAI should have a seat. Dr. Salim, MOA is a advisory group,
Central Advisory Council.
Central Advisory Council under the Rera Act. So we will write to MOA to take ICAI representative. And
Yes.
currently, my name you should propose ki he is the chairman. So
Because-
please take him.
Because if we want to resolve the issue of stall project, then participation of chartered account is a must. Because it involves financial cash flow. Because in some of the project, it may happen that allotee will have to sell out more money to complete the project. That can also happen.
What I would request you take one session on installed project only. This Friday, Saturday sessions, or we want to do like we have done a scheduling of 9 to 12. That scheduling we have already done. And we have a 16th to 19th, we have a session. 23rd to 26th, we can do this stall project or some other subject, which are, very burning issues.
Yes. And one suggestion is that we should invite the members of COC, Central Advisory Council, to our program also, so that they understand what has been.
Yeah. So Salimji, take the contact details of all Central Advisory Committee Council members, and those viewers also, we need their support, their total support in various things which we are doing. So with this, I thank Ashwinji, Dilipji, Anandji, and other panelists, Vaibhav in absentia. They are not seen in the screen, but and all the listeners, because on Sunday morning, you have spent your time to listen to us. So without you, this program would not have been successful. So thank you very much to all of you.